Meeting went well, huh? He retorted sarcastically. We had to bet whether the ghost would show. I thought I made it appealing enough for the person to bite the bait. We were both curious to know whether it was a man or a woman behind that title. My intuition told me it was a woman, but the way the ghost handled business made me think it was a man. Massimo was certain it was a man. I wasn't so sure, though, especially after that email with the comment about the beach. Men are usually not excited to go to the beach. Yes, it went peachy. I spat back dry. As you well know, though I just got an email from the ghost. I quickly started typing my reply, letting the ghost know the privacy terms are fine. The privacy terms are a deal breaker. So, are you keeping the ghost on or cutting him loose? I noted Massimo said him. I grinned. I'm still not convinced it is a him, I told him, but yes, I'll accept the terms. Switching to a more interesting subject, I tilted my head towards the surveillance monitor. What have those two been up to? I tilted to the screen. It showed Grace and Ella by the pool. Pretty much this most of the morning. His eyes lingered on Ella. I knew he had the hots for her. Apparently, quite a bit of hots. Any progress with Ella? I questioned him. His eyes darkened and he grunted. She avoids talking. I raised my eyebrows. Just talking? Fuck off, Luciano, he grumbled. There was no doubt those two were already fucking. She'll talk eventually. Yeah, good luck with that. Those two had anyone connected to me on the enemy of the state list. By default, Massimo was shit out of luck. Still, it didn't hurt to try that route. We had a bet about Ella going. She'd be an easier one to cave than Grace. I saw the way she watched Massimo. He might be able to get some information out of her way before Grace would spill anything to me. But at least he was getting laid. He didn't have to outright say it, but it was clear he was doing perfectly well in that department. Were you able to crack the firewall? I questioned him. No wonder our tracer on both their devices showed no activity. They were both hiding all their transactions behind layers of firewalls. Almost there? If I wasn't so agitated and needed to know what my wife was doing, I'd laugh. Massimo fucking hated that those two were giving him a run for his money. He was actually impressed and planned on using some of it set up to upgrade our own security system. Where is Roberto? I questioned him. He was with your father for about 5 minutes and then he headed for the city. He said he had to take care of some shit. Frowning, I wondered what shit he would have to take care of. I didn't send him to take care of anything for me. I glanced at the screen again, forgetting Roberto, and Massimo continued as if he could read my mind. Grace has been messing around on the laptop and Ella sunbathed and swam all morning. And the boy? Your father took him to a playground. I raised my eyebrow. It will be hard when the boy leaves. Your father won't like it. I frowned. I didn't like to think about Grace leaving. If I could help it, it would never happen again. Besides, I told my father she was staying. I just needed time, and her to stop fucking ignoring me or glaring at me. Music blared through the monitors, and both of us looked back at the screens. Grace and Ella were laughing, singing along to the song, more like screaming, because neither one of them could carry a single damn tune.
If you're looking for love, know that love don't live here anymore.
Yeah, they were also butchering the tunes. My eyes zeroed in on my wife. She looked relaxed and happy. Whenever she was around me, she was tense. It didn't take a genius to know she was determined to keep her distance. She trusted me less now than when we first got married. Yeah, I wonder why, jackass. My mind mocked, but I firmly shut it down. My eyes roamed over her body. She still had that suntan glow from her time in Italy. I thought she was beautiful when I first saw her 3 years ago, but it was nothing to the way she looked now. She was breathtakingly captivating. Yes, there was still vulnerability to her, but it was her strength that shone through, how she challenged me at every turn, and her body in that bikini. Fuck, what is she wearing? My train of thinking abruptly ended. Is that like the tiniest bikini ever invented? And she wore that all day while Massimo watched her? Massimo pulled his phone up. "What the fuck are you doing?" I barked out. If he tried to take a picture of my wife in that tiny bikini, cousin or no, I'd shoot him. "I'm Shazamming the song." I frowned. "What the fuck for?" "Gotta keep up with the trend of those two," he muttered. "Ah, Miley Cyrus, someone else."
Should we take off our bathing suits and just sunbathe nude?
Ella's exclamation came through the screen amid their singing.
What a great idea.
My wife exclaimed. Before I knew what I was doing, I strode in angry steps out the door and onto the patio. I didn't realize Massimo was behind me till I stopped abruptly at the terrace to see my wife reaching for her backstrap to untie her bikini. "Don't even fucking think about it," I growled, shooting glares at my wife. If I wouldn't be seeing her tits, nobody else would either. She glanced over her shoulder.
First of all, you have no right to tell me what I can or cannot do.
Her voice was unperturbed, dismissing me with her scolding look.
And second, I'm itching my back. Unless you volunteer to be my pool boy and scratch.
I was behind her in 1 heartbeat, 2 seconds, and 3 strides. "Sure, I volunteer," I rasped in her ear. "I volunteer to scratch your itch." She was getting under my skin. Fuck, she has been under my skin from the moment my eyes met her sparkling gaze 3 years and 9 months ago. My calloused palm placed against her back. I felt her stiffen at my touch. She hated my fucking guts. I waited, expecting for her to move away from me, but she remained still. Almost as the two of us dared each other who'd stop the connection first. It wouldn't be me, because I was finally touching her bare, soft skin. I've been itching to touch her since I found her. I would take more from her. She'd sleep in my bed tonight. "I want you to get rid of that hair color," I growled. My voice was rougher than I intended. It was on the tip of my tongue to bark at Ella and Massimo to get lost, so I could fuck my wife right here and right now. I didn't give a shit who could see or hear us. This need to bury my cock inside her was clawing at me, demanding I be sated.
Chapter 12. Grace. I stood still, Luciano's warm palm against my back. I hated how it made my skin burn, the tingling sensation shooting throughout my body, my blood sizzling with need. It is not for his touch, I tried to convince myself. It was a natural reaction to have a physical reaction after feeling a man's hand on me after so many years. I had to fight the urge to close my eyes and lean back into his touch. My heart thundered in my chest, excitement and adrenaline mixing together. Luciano Vitale would end up costing me more than my life if I lowered my guard. I'd stick around till the annulment came through. Then we would run and never look back. "I have to say, Luciano," I started, although my voice was slightly high-pitched. "You suck as a pool boy. I've had so much better. So either scratch the spot or step away from me."
"Scared, tesoro?"
He whispered the question into my ear. His breath was hot, igniting my blood with each syllable. That was the most terrifying part. I didn't feel fear, only a burning desire that would turn me into ashes at any second. The need to feel his hands all over my skin wiped any reason or sanity, leaving me only with want. This aching want for this man, the ache only he could sate.
Mamma.
My son's voice woke me up from the haze and impending doom under my husband's touch. I shook off his touch and ran to Matteo. "Hey, buddy!" I lifted him up into the air. "How was the playground?"
Fun.
My eyes shifted to Luciano's father. "Thanks for taking him to the playground." He grinned, and it struck me how much my son looked like his father and grandfather. The resemblance was plain as day. Luciano was a perceptive, smart man, and I feared he'd see it at any moment. Each second around these men was a danger. We needed to be out of here before those two figured out who Matteo's father was.
Boy likes the swings.
The old Matteo announced.
Davvero?
He asked his grandson. Matteo nodded eagerly, his whole face lit up from happiness.
But now we're hungry for lunch.
Matteo wiggled out of my arms and ran up to Luciano's father.
Nonno, nonno.
Each time I heard Matteo call out nonno to Luciano's father, a pang of regret hit me. It felt like I robbed him of the knowledge that he had a grandchild. Not like I robbed him. I did, but it wasn't all my fault. His son was to blame too. "I'll go ahead and feed him," I said in a strained voice. "He is full of energy." Luciano's father just shrugged his shoulders.
I like it. It reminds me of Luciano when he was that age.
I swallowed hard, my mouth desert dry. I always thought Matteo was Luciano's twin. Nonno just confirmed it. Did he suspect? Luciano's father was very perceptive. After all, his son got it from him. Although when it came to me, my husband was blind as a bat. I thought sarcastically. I wanted to honor Luciano's father when I named our son, but I believed I'd never see him again, any of them again. Now I pondered whether it was a smart thing to do. I watched my toddler walk away from me with his grandfather, hand in hand, in the direction of the kitchen. The youngest generation and the oldest. Damn it. I didn't want Nonno to experience more loss, or Matteo. This had to end as soon as possible so we could all move on and leave all this behind us once and for all. I turned my back to Luciano and bent over to pick up my laptop. Stuffing it into its slip, I glanced over my shoulder. "Luciano, I want the annulment expedited. With your connections, I'm sure you can have it done fast." I was so lost in him. I didn't even notice Massimo standing to the side. Of course, that man was always by his side. I narrowed my eyes on him. I wouldn't forgive either one of them for that evening, when they discarded me like some garbage. I strode quickly away from both of them, and the memories that opened my heart and made it bleed. Even after all that time, it still caused physical pain in my chest. I was almost 10 feet away from them when Ella's voice reached me. "Wait, Grace." My steps slowed down, but I didn't stop. "Grace, what was that about?" "We have to get out of here," I murmured, low. "The sooner, the better." "What about the annulment?" "I'll give him a timeline. If he can't make it happen within that time, we need to go." "Shit. Are you falling for him again?" Abruptly stopping, I glared at her. "No, I hate his guts," I hissed. Turning my gaze back to where I left Luciano, I noted he still stood there, his eyes on me and that damn, arrogant, ever-knowing smile on his kissable lips. Matteo is getting attached to Luciano's father and to Luciano. You should have seen Matteo this morning, sleeping against Luciano, and it's only been a day. The longer we stay here, the riskier it is. I took a big breath and locked eyes with Ella. I want to figure out how to get my hands on my parents' will. The sooner the better. If Luciano doesn't have the annulment done by then, we clear out of here. Can you work on hacking the Romano network?" She nodded. Ella became really good at hacking, and our firewalls were strong, thanks to her picking up a few tips during her relationship with Dietrich. "How are we going to get away from Luciano?" Her question was barely a whisper. "His guys are watching our every single move." Boom bum, boom bum, boom bum. "I'll move his attention to something else," I replied in a barely audible voice. "I just have to figure out what." "The man is devouring you with his eyes," she muttered. "Maybe sleep with him and keep him distracted that way." My sweet spot between my legs pulsed at the idea, but my heart cringed. No fucking way. That man would ruin me, utterly destroy me, because despite everything that happened, he was still my weak spot. More like he would be my distraction, I muttered begrudgingly under my breath. Forget that for now. Let's focus on robbing Ian Laszlo of my parents' will and finding my uncle's kid. Tomorrow, we'll accidentally run into Ian. I put an air quotation when I said accidentally. And in the meantime, we keep digging for my uncle's kid's identification. I couldn't believe it when I read it, she mumbled. It was the message that alarmed both of us. It was the reason she handed me my phone this morning in front of Luciano. Nor that I lucked out when I hacked into his network. Honestly, I can't believe he has a kid, I told her, still shocked with that discovery. My uncle was a cruel bastard, and he shouldn't be allowed around children or innocent people. As far as I was concerned, my grandmother's and his evil was contagious. I always knew him to be with other men. I didn't realize he liked women too. But do you realize what that means? She whispered. His kid is 35. That means you're not the one owed to Benito King. It is his kid. Maybe it's a boy. I understood what she was saying, but it didn't make it right to be sold off, regardless if it was my uncle's kid or me. But then why would he hide the fact that he had a kid? Yes, indeed. Why? 48 hours. That was all it took. Barely 2 days, and I wanted to murder my husband more than anything else. I was so furious I saw red. I barely stepped foot into his house, and he already dominated my life and my schedule. First at the pool, he swarmed me with his presence, then demanded I change my hair color. Who in the hell did he think he was? But I bit my tongue and made the appointment. For the same day, just as he demanded, it was back to its ginger color. Of course, I would never admit to him that I liked it better this way too. I never used permanent hair color, so the hairdresser was able to strip the color off without major damage to my hair, and did an amazing job bringing it back to my natural color. Or as close as possible to it, because honestly, after all that time, it was hard to remember the exact shade of it. It felt good to have it cut and freshened up. Next, he designated Mateo's room closer to his own bedroom rather than Ella's, and where I intended to sleep. I didn't complain. I just gritted my teeth and went along with it, reminding myself it was only temporary, until I got the annulment. If I had to, I'd just sleep in Mateo's room. It was certainly big enough. But now, he went too far. He had all my stuff taken to his bedroom. If that man thought I'd sleep in his bedroom for 1 second while we wait for this annulment, he was crazier than I thought. Luciano, I have to talk. My words trailed off as I burst through the office door, finding Luciano with 4 other men I had never seen. All 5 of them were deep in discussion, with drinks in their hands. Luciano and another guy were sitting with their feet propped up on the table. One guy was lounging on a sofa, and two were playing darts. Yeah, these are some tough criminals right here. I scoffed in my head. And there was no doubt in my mind they were criminals. Just the air about them was enough to confirm that. Well, that and the fact that each one of them had a gun holster. I might have missed a little fact like that 3 years ago, but not anymore. I pierced them all with a glare. I hated them as much as my husband. Guilty by association, if you ask me. But of course, nobody asked me. Nobody cared that he dragged us back into this life we didn't want, jeopardizing my son. Our son. Why did my mind try to be fair? Nothing my husband did was fair, so no. My son. I glanced around the space, and just like when we first got married, this space impressed me. Luciano's office was one of the biggest offices I had ever seen. I guess it made sense since he spent so much time here. Expensive mahogany furniture accented the entire room. There were 2 sofas to allow visitors to make themselves comfortable. The room was decorated with taste, but mainly with comfort in mind. The best feature of it was the extensive top-to-bottom French windows that led to a patio and allowed you to see over the whole property. The pool stretched barely 15 feet outside.
Ah, Grace.
Luciano greeted me with a wide smile that didn't reach his eyes.
To what do I owe this pleasure?
You... I searched for the right words.
Your husband, yes.
He finished, sarcastically. You are not my husband. I spoke the words through my clenched teeth. I was so pissed off I could barely see straight. He tilted his head as if considering my words.
Funny, because I have paperwork that shows I am.
Well, that is funny indeed, because I have experience showing you are an asshole. Someone started to laugh, but quickly covered it by clearing their throat. But my gaze remained glued on my husband, wishing I could kill him with my glare.
Did you come here to discuss our marriage status or something else, wife?
A growl escaped me as I glared at him, locking my gaze with those hazel eyes I used to love so much. I want my own room. I gritted through my teeth.
No.
You don't get to decide where I sleep, I hissed.
My house, my rules.
You fucking asshole. I don't even want to be here. You are forcing me to stay here. I'd rather sleep on the street than under the same roof as you, but here I am. Until the annulment comes through, you will give me my own room, or I...
Or what, wife?
He challenged me, a knowing smile on his full lips. My blood boiled, and an image flashed through my mind. Me throwing something and smashing it into his handsome face, wiping that smug smile off his lips. Before my brain processed what my body was doing, that was exactly what I did. I reached for the first object closest to me and threw it flying across the room. It missed him and crashed against the wall. I watched in horror as an antique vase shattered into a million pieces, landing all over his floor, desk, and some chips even landed into my husband's hair. I hated his fucking guts. The crash was followed by stillness, and I was painfully aware of my heart thundering in my chest. It beat so hard, I was scared my ribs would break. Silence stretched as all kinds of creative words played in my mind. Each was worse than the previous, and I wanted to scream them all to his face. We've only been here 48 hours, and I hated it. I despised him, his men, his house, this city, every damn thing. It was a painful reminder of what he had done to me. I ignored his visitors. They didn't matter. Anything connected to Luciano had nothing to do with me, and I wanted as far away as possible from it. I hate your fucking guts. My voice dripped with the feelings. and there was no mistaking that I meant those words.
Wife, these are my friends. Cassio, Luca, Alessandro, and Nico. Let's leave family drama for later and say hi to them.
I never even turned my head their way. Manners be damned. I always tried to do the right thing, and what did it get me? A gun against my head, being tossed away like a piece of trash, used as a pawn by my family and my husband. I don't give a damn about your friends, Luciano. I spat out in disgust. Any friends of yours are enemies of mine. He was on his feet and hovering over me in my next breath. Before I got a chance to process him getting to me so fast, he continued in a calm voice, a storm brewing behind those hazel eyes.
Now, Grace, we don't want to be rude to our guests. Be a good wife and say hi.
No.
Do I need to take you outside and put you across my knees?
Fuck you, husband. His lip tilted up, as if my rebellion pleased him. We stood toe to toe, his hard body too close to mine. I could smell his cologne, a mixture of citrus and cedar, and feel the heat coming off him. The heat I craved last time I spent winter in New York.
We'll do that later.
He cooed softly, but there was a hard gleam in his eyes. You can do that later by yourself. It was stupid to challenge him, taunt him, but the reasonable part of me disappeared and only my anger, agitation, and need to hurt him were left. I want my own room.
No.
I didn't realize my feet had taken backward steps, and suddenly I found myself against the wall. I agreed to stay here till our annulment comes through, I hissed. Stay out of my way. Otherwise, I'll make you regret ever finding me. He laughed, the sound bitter.
Too late for that, wife.
Despite my anger and hate, it still hurt to hear him say that. I wanted to slap him, claw his beautiful face, make him hurt, like he had hurt me.
Now, greet our guests.
How about I greet them the way you said farewell to me? I raised my chin in fake bravado. He was so much taller than me, I had to crane my neck for better effect. A game of Russian roulette. Which one should I pull the trigger on first? Something flashed in those hazel eyes, but he quickly recovered and blanked his expression. Probably a regret that bullet never came. His head bent forward, and I could feel his hot breath against my earlobe.
You don't want me to punish you here, tesoro.
I knew fear flashed in my eyes, because he chuckled softly.
That's right. There will be punishment. But if you behave now, I'll save it for later, and you might even enjoy it.
You have no right. I meant to sound defiant, tough, but the words came out in a breathless whisper. I hated having him so close to me. I didn't want to smell him, feel his body brushing against mine. Oceans between us was not far enough, if you asked me.
I'll make you scream so the entire household hears.
He made promises that I dreaded he intended to keep. But I would fight him. I wasn't that same young girl anymore. I scoffed in fake bravado. What the fuck ever, Luciano? Go fuck yourself. His hand gripped tight around my arm, and he pulled me along through the door, into the hallway. I thought he'd drag me through the house to our bedroom, but instead, he shoved me into the closest dark corner, a mere 10 feet from his office. I noted from my peripheral his office door remained open.
Always so defiant. What shall we do with that mouth of yours?
His voice was a warm caress on my cheek, sending shivers through my body. They are shivers of disgust, I told myself. His mouth crashed against mine. The kiss was meant to punish, dominate, bruise. And God help me, I liked it. I haven't felt another man's lips on me since that day over 3.5 years ago. It felt like a different lifetime, a different me. But I always craved that feeling, before it all burned down to ashes. His lips trailed down my neck, leaving searing skin in its wake. Stop it. My voice was small, but I refused to beg. I refused to plead with him. Your friends will see. I felt him more than I heard him chuckle.
I'd never let them see you like that. That pleasure is reserved only for me.
He let the words linger in the air before he continued.
But I'll let them hear you submit to me, so they know who you belong to.
I tried to push away from him, but it was like trying to move a mountain. The palms of his hands were on both of my thighs, trailing up. My mind kept warning me, reminding me how much I despised him. My body refused to obey, to remain still. Instead, it molded under his hands, pushing into his touch. My legs parted, the sweet spot between my thighs pulsed with need for him, and I hated my body for craving him.
Are you wet for me, tesoro?
He purred. I bit my bottom lip, refusing to let the answer slip through. I hated that my body responded to his touch, even after all this time apart. All he had to do was glance my way, and my body woke for him. For the past 3 years, every fiber of me was in a sleep mode, till Luciano came for me.
Oh, tesoro, you are soaked.
He groaned against my neck. In a haze, I watched him lower himself down onto his knees. I should push him away, right now. All I had to do was shove my knee into his beautiful face, break his nose, and take off. But like a stupid, weak woman, I watched him under my lashes, anticipation building up. His fingers hooked onto my panties, and I watched him slide them down my legs. I expected him to discard them to the side. Instead, he brought them to his nose, and he inhaled deeply. My insides shook in sick excitement. What is wrong with me?
Smells like my wife.
He rasped.
I'm keeping these. I'll wrap them around my dick later and jerk off thinking about you.
My lips parted, and a soft gasp echoed through the fog in my brain. Was that me? It was a shock. At least, I tried to tell myself it was. It certainly wasn't because I was ready to unravel right here in front of him, hearing his dirty words. Grabbing my one ankle, his hands surprisingly gentle, I watched his tanned hand, covered in ink, drape my leg over his shoulder and dip his head between my thighs. The moment his lips touched my pussy, a loud moan escaped me. Luciano. I should tell him to stop. I needed to fight him, but my body refused to listen. My lips wouldn't let the words come out. I wasn't sure how or when my hands grabbed onto his hair, my fingers tangled through his short, dark strands. Instead of pushing him away, I pulled him closer, needing more of his tongue, his mouth. His tongue teased my clit, and stars already swirled behind my eyelids. He had barely touched me, and my insides already shook, close to bursting into the sweetest pleasure. The scruff of his 5 o'clock shadow tingled against my inner thigh, rasping against the soft flesh. All my anger melted and turned into lust under his expert touch. His tongue swirled my clit in lazy circles, and I twisted my body, pulling away or pushing against his mouth. I wasn't sure. The sensation overwhelmed every single reasonable thought. His hand grabbed my ass and held me firm against his mouth. Oh my God. I breathed. More. I'd regret it later. I'd think about it later. Now I just needed to come undone. For me, not for him. I lied to myself. He pushed his finger inside me and his mouth worked me mercilessly. His growling sounds made it seem like he was enjoying the best dessert of his life.
Fuck, you taste amazing.
My moans got louder, and I bit hard into my lip to keep silent. I was right on the edge of the cliff, ready to jump off and spiral into an abyss of delightful pleasure. He was the only one that could ever do this to me.
Chapter 13. Luciano. The scent of my wife drove me insane. Her aroused scent made my mouth water, like I have been deprived of food and water for centuries. Her slick sweetness was all around me. I'd lost my mind to do this in the hallway, with my friends behind the office door, but I didn't give a fuck. As long as they didn't see her, I wanted them to know she was mine.
Luciano?
She cried out as my tongue slid up her slit. The restless, ruthless beast inside me finally retreated, satisfied with grace on my tongue. Fuck, she tasted so damn good. Like my woman. Sucking on one of her pussy lips, I wiggled my tongue around her bud. Her body hummed with need, twisting under my mouth. The moans filling the hallway made it abundantly clear what we were doing. Her fingernails raked through my hair, scraping against my scalp as I devoured her. Keening sounds rasped from my wife's lips, her pussy on my face. I would die a happy man, just like this, with her taste on my tongue. I nipped at her clit. Her body tensed for a brief second before she shuddered and she flew over the edge with my name on her lips, just the way it should be. I lapped at her juices like the greedy man that I was, my eyes drinking the sight of her. My wife's cheeks flushed, her hair attractively messy. She looked like a pleasured woman, my woman. Her eyes locked on mine. The haze in those beautiful eyes slowly lifted. But instead of the softness I was used to seeing in them after I brought her to heights, there was only resentment there.
You are an asshole,
she spat out, her voice slightly hitched. I swiftly stood up and pressed my mouth hard on hers. Taste yourself on my lips, wife, I told her, my lips inches from hers, because that's where you'll be until this is over. Now, go greet our guests. She pushed herself away from me, smoothing her dress down her thighs, her cheeks still flushed from what we had just done. There was no mistaking what just happened in this hallway, even if she would have been silent through the whole ordeal. But she wasn't quiet through her pleasure. I grinned smugly. She loved every second of it, although regret was clear on her face now.
They are your guests,
she bit out.
Not mine. You can tell them if they get anywhere near my son or Ella, I'll kill them.
She strode away without a backward glance. Her hips swayed in unintentional seduction, her cream dress accentuating each curve of her body, tempting me. There was nothing more I wanted to do than to stride after her, throw her over my shoulder, and take her into our bedroom where I'd fuck her for days. Forget about my friends, forget about the past, the Romano family, forget about everything except her sweet body underneath me. I was stupid to insist her sleeping in our bedroom. She'd probably slice my throat in the middle of the night. The hate-filled glares she threw my way were evidence of how much she despised my guts. I'd fuck the hate right out of her. I grinned to myself. It wasn't a brilliant plan, but it was all I had. I headed back into my office, all my friends still there. It wasn't as if they could have left, not unless they wanted a first-row seat with a show while I ate my wife's pussy. I thought someone said your wife was a meek pianist. Of course, it would be Luca to fucking egg me on. And here she is, threatening to kill us all. Fuck off, I muttered. My wife's sweetness lingered on my tongue, my cock rock hard for her. It has been a permanent side effect from the moment I've found her and getting worse by the minute. She hasn't forgiven you? Cassio asked the unnecessary question. No. I had a feeling she'd never forgive me. I wouldn't have. None of the men in the room would have forgiven such an offense. So why would I expect anything else from my wife? Are you sure you want to sleep in the same room? Alessio questioned. She might kill you in your sleep. She hates your guts. I glared at him, hating his guts right this second for telling the truth. Fuck you, asshole. Alessio chuckled like the bastard he was. I'm good, although you might want to keep your woman under you all night. From the sounds we just heard, she seems to be receptive to you in that arena. I might shoot you one of these days. I growled at him, but a grin played on my lips. It was right. Grace was receptive when I pleasured her. She had been avoiding me from the moment she set foot back in my house. She either clung to her son, my father, or hid who the fuck knows where. Besides, she had to get over her jet lag, too. Don't pay attention to Alessio, Nico chimed in. He's just jealous because he can't get his dick into the woman he wants. Alessio promptly flipped him the bird. We all knew the story. He touched what was forbidden, and now he craved more. It would seem all of us had rough starts with our women. Nico was no different. I swear watching you guys makes me grateful not to deal with women on a longer than one-night basis, Luca retorted dryly. Your time is coming, brother. Cassio smirked at his younger sibling, and I look forward to seeing you squirm. It was Luca's turn to flip the bird at his older brother. Hold your breath, brother. See how well it works out. Cassio flipped him 2 birds. Here we were, men almost in our 40s, and we were so mature we were flipping each other middle fingers. Okay, back to the business at hand. I stopped all this bird flipping. Do we have any update on fucking Alfonso and what he is doing? Nico grabbed his glass and took a drink. I have a little bit more detail on the Romano connection to the kings. Nico, or the Wolf as we called him, had a way of finding out details on everything and everyone. We called him the Wolf because the bastard had the instincts of a wolf. He was highly intelligent, sometimes a loner, dominant, but above all loyal. Except that his family fucked him over. It certainly seemed a running theme around here. We're all ears, I told my friend. Now take this with a grain of salt since there's no hard evidence, Nico started. The Romano family is old. They go back at least 2 centuries here in the States. So does the King family. Cassio nodded. We all knew that the King family ran the criminal underworld in Europe, and when they migrated here, they continued the same path, establishing their territory. The story was, there was some bad blood between your ancestors back in Europe. The Romano family were wealthy and amongst nobility. A Romano daughter fell for one of the kings while both families still lived in Europe. Once the Romano head found out, they hunted the man down and hung him. They considered them lower class. Shortly after, the kings migrated to the States and established themselves. Revolutions swept through Europe, and the Romano family lost pretty much everything. When they migrated, unfortunately for them, they landed in the king's territory. Anyhow, the agreement was made between the head of the King family and the Romano family. Each generation would provide one woman, a belle, to the King family as compensation for the man the Romano family killed. "What the fuck?" Cassio grumbled. "Are you fucking shitting us? Because I am not in the mood for stupid stories. No, I am quite serious. I'm still digging, but it turns out the King family saw an opportunity. They expanded that agreement to some other families too. Some are one-time deals, others longer-term deals. The problem is finding evidence to support this." "So where did you hear this?" I questioned him. I had to side with Cassio here. It sounded like some damn fairy tale, and not a good one either. "Of all the people, from my mother." "And you believe her?" Cassio asked, his voice doubtful. Nico's mother wasn't exactly a role model. "It was actually something I heard even when I was a kid, from my grandmother." Nico was fucking serious. "Apparently, my great-grandfather hit a financial snafu and needed money. He was approached by one of your ancestors, Cassio, and was offered a bailout in return for one of the bells in our family for 2 generations. My grandfather told him to go fuck himself, and that was it." The meaning of it hung heavy in the air. This was something completely different to human smuggling. "What do they do with women? They really marry a mobster?" He shrugged his shoulders. "They offer them for sale. You know, fancy upbringing and good pedigree fetches a high price among men in our world." Yes, we all knew we were bastards. "But the word is that bells from the Romano family have been fetching the largest sum for centuries. And about 100 years ago, the Romano family got into human trafficking, led by their great-great-grandmother. And guess who she teamed up with? I had a suspicion, but it was hard to believe all this shit. You got it. With Cassio's ancestors, the Romano family offered a perfect, legitimate front. They were no longer required to offer their daughters. All this churned my stomach. Oh no, the agreement still stands. The Bells and Mobsters agreement continued, including bells from the Romano family. It is the biggest auction, fetching the largest sums. Women go to the highest bidder. Unfortunately for the Romano family, not all their family members had the stomach for it. There were hushed stories of random family members disappearing or being brought down if they tried to fuck with their new secret business. Till Kennedy Romano. His feud against his brother was rather bitter. That was Grace's father. My wife told me about her parents during our first few months of marriage. She loved them very much. I should have known all this before. We all should have. But the truth was that I was focused solely on avenging the death of my mother and sister. Both were killed by Alfonso Romano. How is it that none of us heard of this before? And how was it not picked up in Grace's background check that there was a feud between Kennedy Romano and his brother? Well, none of us are really from the old families, Nico retorted. Alessio came from old money, but his family is based in Canada. My family only got rich about 100 years ago with the construction boom. Your father, Luciano, was first generation in the States, and he worked himself within the ranks. And you quadrupled, if not more, what your father made, so you would have never needed the money. Cassio and Luca weren't in those circles, and really their grandfather in Italy raised them, so their father kept them out of the loop. Holy fucking shit, Luca muttered. Bells and mobsters. Who in their right mind would ever agree to offer a daughter to a man in our circles? He was right. I knew I wouldn't want my children to be part of this underworld. It was cruel and unforgiving. It made me a hypocritical bastard because I took Grace without consideration to the Mafia world. I would imagine desperate people would agree to it, Cassio muttered. I hate that fucking old bastard. Luca didn't hide his feelings about his father. He hated him with passion, not that I could blame him. But again, there's no evidence for any of this, and good luck finding someone that would be willing to attest to this, Nico added. Cassio's jaw was pressed so tight, I thought it might snap at any second. The dread was heavy, like lead in the pit of my stomach. Grace was the only woman of her family's current generation. 3 years ago, I sent her right back to them. She ran, disappeared for the longest 3 years of my life. I thought her uncle hid her from me, but if there was an ounce of truth to the story, that couldn't be. He worked with Cassio's father. If he had her, she'd be in Benito King's clutches, offered to the highest bidding mobster. And I brought her right back into the lion's den. I might as well have had her delivered on a silver platter. My blood simmered, the anger at myself unlike ever before. Nico continued speaking. As you know, Alfonso only had a brother, so there was no Romano Bell offering. Kennedy Romano was in politics. He was pretty good too. He had a childhood sweetheart that refused to marry him for many years. The world was flabbergasted. They were a perfect match. She came from old money. The whispering is that her family knew about the ongoing deal the Romano family had and the human trafficking. Kennedy Romano became educated by his wife in his own family business affairs. After which, he cut all contact with the Romano family. His political career grew fast and strong. He was going after the Mafia and crime relentlessly. There were stories he could have easily become the next president. And they had a little girl, the only child for that generation since Alfonso never married. The meaning of it lingered in the air. Grace was owed to the King family. The word is that Grace Romano was meant for Benito King's legitimate son, Nico concluded. Whatever the highest price she fetches, Marco King is to pay double. I would never let them have her. I would kill every single member of the King family if I had to, but they would never have Grace. She was a Vitale now. She was mine. What other families do the Kings have arrangements with? Cassio gritted out. I don't have concrete leads. Politicians here in the U.S. and in Europe, movie stars, old families. Nico took a deep breath and then slowly exhaled. Do you think maybe Grace knows? Cassio's question was reasonable. I met Nico's gaze. We could ask her? He suggested. My eyes took in the shattered vase pieces on the floor and my desk. She won't tell us anything, I rasped. If all this was true, and Grace knew about the Bell deal, I have betrayed her in the worst way possible. Was that the reason she betrayed me that day? Did her uncle hold that over her head? Fuck, we have to do something, Luca gritted. Do we know how it works, the Bell offering? I questioned. When? Where? The whole concept made me sick to my stomach. Raphael mentioned he overheard Alfonso speak to Benito about the delivery of a woman. Cassio and I shared glances. There was no question who that woman was now. Did Alfonso Romano already know Grace was back in the States? Massimo barged through the door at that moment, an alarmed look on his face. What is it? Fuck, I didn't know how much more bad news I could take today. I broke it. Broke what? Cassio and I questioned at the same time. I broke your wife's firewalls. He looked disheveled, which rarely happened to him. You won't fucking believe it.
Chapter 14. Grace. I couldn't believe I let Luciano ravish me in the hallway. I was so mad at myself. After I went to grab a new pair of panties, I went in the direction of Matteo's playroom. Being around him always grounded me. He was my reminder to get through this. It was all for him. Opening the door softly, in case he was napping, I was surprised to find Luciano's father sitting on the couch, building a wooden train set with Matteo. They both had wide smiles on their faces, speaking Italian. Neither one of them heard me come in. "What are my two favorite men doing?" I asked, startling them both. Matteo stood up and ran to me, hugging my legs. I lowered down onto my knee and wrapped my arms around him.
We are building the biggest train tracks.
Luciano's father announced.
Want to help us?
"Sure, I'd love to." I pressed a kiss to my son's forehead. "What do you say, Matteo?" He eagerly pulled me along, and I sat between the two of them. Matteo immediately handed me parts, putting me to work.
You are doing such a good job, Matteo.
Nonno commended him. Thankfully, he switched to English so I could understand their conversation too.
We'll have to make sure we have the right pieces for the mountain. Davvero?
"How was the playground today?" I questioned Nonno as we all worked on our trail pieces.
It was good. Matteo said he never saw such a big playground. We shall have one installed on the grounds tomorrow.
I smiled at him. I wanted to tell him there was no need since we wouldn't be staying long, but I hated to kill the old man's enthusiasm and happiness, so I kept quiet. We all worked on building the train tracks. All the while, my thoughts raced through my mind. This annulment better go through quickly. I would be stupid to think I could resist Luciano on a long-term basis. Yes, I hated him, but my mind and body seemed to be at war here, and I was worried my body was winning. It didn't bode well for my self-respect. I remembered a phrase my mother used to always tell me, "It's a thin line between love and hate, Grace. Don't ever mix up the two." I wished she was still here, and I could ask her for advice. I missed her so much. Being back here, so close to my family that took so much from me, was a blessing and a curse. Since Ella and I went on the run, I have pushed all the memories away. I made myself not remember my mom, dad, my uncle, nor my grandparents, and of course, Luciano. The sad part was that he wasn't even the worst villain in my life. My uncle and grandmother were the worst villains of them all. Truth was, I was scared out of my damned mind, and it wasn't because of Luciano. That man showed me firsthand that he wouldn't hesitate to put a bullet into my brain, and yet I was scared of the alternative with my uncle even more. I thanked all the saints for having a boy.
Gracie,
Nonno's hand was on mine, pulling me back to the scene at hand.
are you okay?
I forced a smile. "Yes, of course." Matteo crawled into my lap and placed his hands on my cheeks.
Are you crying?
Nonno asked me at the same time. My fingers reached for my face, and I realized it was wet. "I think my eyes hurt. Probably jet lag." Nonno didn't believe me, but he let it go. I turned my lips into Matteo's chubby hands and kissed his palms. "I'm okay, baby." My son's hazel eyes watched me, reminding me so much of his father. I kissed his forehead tenderly. Truthfully, all the heartache Luciano brought onto me was worth it, because I had my son. He was my life. Just like I was my parents' life. They protected me with all they had, and my uncle destroyed it all. Maybe it was time I made my uncle and grandmother pay. When Luciano pretty much seduced me and then kidnapped me all those years ago, I was an inexperienced, naive, and a scared young girl. He scooped me up and, unknowingly, became my savior. Until that very moment, I had nobody to save me from the horrible fate Gabriella and I were powerless against the agreement our ancestors made. I wasn't so naive and inexperienced anymore, but I was still scared. Fear is healthy, I heard. We played for an hour before I finally stood up. Okay, Mateo, we'll eat dinner, take a bath, and then bedtime. Mateo started pouting, but he was tired. I knew it wouldn't take long before he reached an overexhausted point, and Ella and I had some business to take care of tonight. No. My voice was hesitant. I need to take care of something tonight. Will you keep an eye on Mateo, please? His clear eyes watched me, and there was no way that he didn't pick up on something. He was too smart not to see there was something going on.
Of course, Grace.
He replied.
Now, let's see what Maria has fixed us for dinner.
Nonno chimed in before Mateo could protest further. I gave him a grateful look and lifted Mateo into my arms. Okay, lead the way, I told Nonno. We exited Mateo's playroom area, following behind Nonno down the large staircase, and I silently cursed at the timing the moment I saw Luciano and his friends standing around the large entrance area, discussing something in hushed tones. I wanted to turn around and head in the opposite direction, but it was too late. They had all seen us.
Ah, boys.
Nonno beamed.
Mateo is ready for dinner. Want to join us?
Silent curses blasted in my brain at the invitation. Just say no. Say no. Please say no.
Hello, Mr. Vitale. We'd love to.
One of them responded. Ugh, lovely. I didn't want to sit through dinner with this crowd. I carried on, hoping Nonno would just continue talking and ignore us, but no such luck.
Ah, Gracie. You have to meet these boys.
I couldn't contain a scoff. Boys, my fucking ass. My step faltered, and I turned around to face them.
This is Cassio King.
He pointed to the man that accepted the dinner invitation. Earlier, I was too angry to really see these guys, but holy smokes, he was good looking. His dark hair and those tattoos on his hands and neck gave him a don't fuck with me vibe.
And his brother Luca.
That one also had tattoos marking his neck, dark expression on his face. I was sure if I ran into him in a dark alley, I'd run the other way. He looked like a total badass.
Nico and Alessio.
The latter two were more clean-cut than Cassio and Luca, but still gorgeous specimens. I hated to admit it, but these guys were devastatingly handsome. Of course, none of them compared to Luciano, but they were pretty close. And every single one of them was dangerous. There was this air of ruthlessness about them. They smiled, but it was all a facade. They'd kill you just as easily as smile.
And you know Luciano.
Nonno added, chuckling. Unfortunately, I muttered.
You didn't think so earlier.
My husband retorted with a smug grin, and instantly my cheeks burned with embarrassment. I fucking hated this guy, I really did. Yeah, keep telling yourself that. Although there was a smile on his full lips, I couldn't decipher the look in his eyes. He stared at me with hunger or threat. Maybe those two were the same, since either would shatter me.
Nice to meet you, Mrs. Vitale.
Cassio King greeted me, bringing my attention to him. All the men watched me with an odd expression. Probably think I'm crazy due to my earlier tantrum. Or they probably knew what Luciano and I did in the hallway. Ugh. I shot Cassio with my most furious glare. It's Grace. I spat out, sounding bitchy.
Well, nice to meet you, Grace.
Another one of the men added. It was Cassio's brother, Luca.
Luciano has been keeping you hidden from us.
Was this guy for real? I rolled my eyes at him. Whatever.
You like them, Grace.
Nonno smiled gently, ignoring my obvious dislike of the men.
They're good boys.
I shook my head, and muttered under my breath, "Right. Good boys, and these men should not be mentioned in the same book, even less the same sentence."
And this big boy is our Mateo.
He introduced my son, who watched the entire scene with fascination. I shifted, adjusting my son's weight on my hip. Mateo babbled his greeting, grinning widely and reaching out to go to Luciano.
How old is he?
Nico asked. God, I really didn't want to have this conversation right now.
Mateo will be 3 soon, see?
Nonno beamed proudly. Avoiding looking at any of them, I nodded, swallowing hard. There you are. Ella's voice had everyone's attention diverted from us. She came right on time, and from the look we shared, she knew it. I've been looking everywhere for you. Yay, you found me. I forced a cheer on with a fake smile. We locked eyes. Remember we have that thing going on tonight? I reminded her. No, we'll keep an eye on Mateo. She nodded, her skin slightly pale. Shit, did something else happen while I played with Mateo? No. Can Mateo go with you to the kitchen? I asked.
Yes.
He was so eager to spend time with Mateo. In just a few days, this man was captured by Mateo. Like he felt they were related. But that was a ridiculous thought. Nobody but Ella and I knew that, and we never betrayed each other. Hey, buddy, Ella and I will be right back, okay? Mateo nodded and demanded,
Giù.
Putting him onto his feet, he took 3 steps to Nonno, taking his wrinkly hand, and then surprised me by taking Luciano's hand. A heavy sigh left my lips, seeing my toddler holding hands with his father and grandfather. Excuse me, I muttered with a trembling breath, turned away from the men, and strode towards Ella, all the while committing the image of Mateo with them into my memory. If it wasn't for this whole fucked-up circumstance, it would be a heartwarming sight to see Mateo holding hands with those two. We both started walking towards the wide door, leading to the back garden and the pool. What's going on? I whispered as soon as we were out of earshot. I glanced around and noted all the men could still see us, and each one of them watched us. I was so tempted to flip them the bird, but Nonno was still there with Mateo. Pulling her away to the side so they couldn't see us, I repeated, lowering my voice further. You are freaking me out, I mumbled. What's going on? I hacked into your uncle's network again. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Did you find out who his kid is? What would have shaken her up so much? I'm not sure, she mumbled. What do you mean? I questioned her in a low voice. Why are you so shaken up? She took a deep breath in and slowly exhaled. He's funding his illegal business with your assets as collateral. What? I hissed. How? His lawyers help. Huh, of course. Because the lawyer that handled my inheritance was the one and the same as my uncle's lawyer, Ian Laszlo. And coincidentally, my uncle's lover, but nobody but Ella and I knew the latter. That lawyer was the executor of all my parents' estate that was supposed to come into my possession on my 25th birthday. My parents trusted him. I trusted him. But that's not all, is it? I have known Ella for a long time. She could read my emotions as well as I could read hers. No. The fact that she kept her answers short told me this would be bad. Really bad. I watched her face and I knew what was coming, and still my damn hope refused to be extinguished. It was just 2 days ago that our life was good and we were content and happy. They know we are here. Her voice shook with fear. They know about Mateo and want to transfer all your assets to either your uncle or an anonymous person. But they never mention who it is. I think it's his kid. My heart squeezed in my chest with worry. I won't Let them. I'd protect my son with my last breath. I wouldn't let them get their hands on him. He was innocent in all this. If the worst thing that happened was my uncle taking away all my inheritance, then so be it, as long as he was safe and lived to grow up to be a man. Thank God I didn't have a girl. From all the imaginable thoughts and worries, that was the one that mattered the most to me. How could my family do this, to their own flesh and blood? The worst part was that my grandmother had been running it all and had no qualms sending me to pay our family's generational debt. Who even does that? It sounded like some bad movie. We have to run, I muttered, and my heart clenched. 2 nights back was all it took for them to find us. It would be hard to disappear again, but now that they knew about Matteo, we were running out of time. I wanted a happy life for him, not one on the run. I swallowed hard, knowing what I needed to do, just not having the strength to follow through. Yes, we have to run, but it will be hard this time. We need new identities, everything. It will take time, and I'm not sure we have that kind of time. I hated my family. I knew my uncle was no good from the moment I heard him threatening my mother backstage all those years ago. I learned his identity after my parents' death, and knew there was a good damn reason why they never went around my father's family. They were protecting me. They wanted to make my uncle and grandmother pay, hurt them like they hurt so many others. Maybe we can fight back, I muttered under my breath. Until we have new identities and are back on the run, we'll have to fight. How? Ella was scared, and it showed. I was scared too, but knowing I had to protect Matteo at all cost gave me strength. What if we just say, fuck it, and send my family's empire crumbling? The plan was forming in my head as I spoke. We hit them where it hurts them the most. She watched me, her expression slowly changing. Money, we take it all. Or do we kill them? Kill my grandmother and my uncle? What about your inheritance? The inheritance was from my mother's side. My grandparents from my mother's side were wealthy, and I was their only grandchild. They left me every single cent, about 500 million. That inheritance won't do us any good if we're dead, I muttered. Besides, we don't need the money. We have an arrangement with Ruthless King. He accepted the terms of keeping our privacy. We keep laundering the money till we have enough to survive. We watched each other in silence for a few heartbeats before I continued. We were going to run into my uncle's lawyer tonight anyhow. I told her. We continue with that plan. If I can get my hands on the will, maybe there is something in it that would allow us to get it out of my uncle's hands. We keep digging for the name of Uncle's kid, and if we could somehow find a way to get closer to Grandma or Uncle, we kill them. Jesus, those are a lot of ifs, she mumbled. I knew it, but I had nothing else. It wasn't as if the two of us were master criminals. Maybe you shouldn't insist on an annulment. The suggestion threw me for a loop. Why? She knew what Luciano did. She hated his guts as much as I did. She took a shuddering breath in and slowly exhaled. Well, if something happens to us, Matteo will need him. Nonno is good with him, and I know you don't like it, but Matteo likes Luciano. Nonno and your husband are 1,000,000 times better than your uncle or grandmother. She was right about that. My family would destroy everything good about my son. There wasn't any doubt that he would be better off with his father or Nonno. It actually warmed my heart to see Matteo's little head leaning against Luciano this morning. Yes, it hurt, but in a weird way, it was a good kind of hurt. My heart squeezed at seeing my son with his father. The resemblance was so striking to me, but nobody noticed it. I am happy Mateo likes him, I ended up saying. Pushing my hand through my hair, I felt like we were at a crossroads. She was right. If something happened to us, Mateo would need Nonno and Luciano. I should probably put a will in place. We could get rid of your uncle. She let the words linger. By killing Ian, somehow draw him out. If we killed Ian, we aren't much better than my uncle, I told her in a whisper. Though if I was being honest, it crossed my mind to use him and kill him. Now what did that say about us? Besides, how would we do it? Ella shuddered. Shoot him, I guess. You're pretty good with a gun now. There's a huge difference between shooting a target and shooting a human. God, I never want to see your uncle or grandmother again. I wrapped my arms around me. It was my sentiment exactly. Let's worry about tonight, I suggested. Maybe we can somehow use Ian, drug him or something. Her eyes snapped to me in surprise. Before Luciano seduced me, everyone thought Ian and I dated. We didn't, and never would. He was my uncle's puppet. Yes, it wasn't the best idea to drug him, but our options were limited. He'd never know. She raised her hand. You don't have to justify it to me, she replied. Ian gave my uncle power of attorney over my well-being and my inheritance, removing the individual my parents designated. In fact, he did such a convincing job, I never even knew who was supposed to be my original caretaker. He used you, has been using you all the while betraying you. Yeah, seems to be a running theme. So, I am all for giving him back some of his own medicine. Fuck, I suggested we kill him, so it isn't like I have any room to talk about what is right or not. Killing him doesn't sit well with me, I told her honestly. His biggest crime is that he's my uncle's lawyer and under his spell. I didn't give a crap if those two were lovers, whether they loved each other or used each other. However, I did care that my uncle was able to use him to get what he wanted, but I considered it to be due to my uncle's devious and evil mind. Or maybe I didn't give enough credit to Ian. Who the hell knew? We'll make it seem like a coincidence we ran into Ian, I added. As long as your uncle is not with him, Ella muttered under her breath. Huh, I guess if they are both there, maybe we should kill them both. I retorted dryly, changing my earlier opinion. We might as well go all the way to hell. God, how did we become this? I muttered. We've been dealt some shitty cards. Now that was the understatement of the century. Our families with some fucked up agreement, offering their daughters up to criminals. But hey, at least we found each other. I smiled softly at her statement. Despite all the things that happened, I was glad it brought us together. And that's priceless. I meant it too. Ella and I have been through so much, to hell and back, together. Okay, let's start with Ian. I'll put a will in place and have a contingency plan for Mateo in case shit goes awry. Let's focus on getting some information from Ian. Anything that would hurt my uncle. Keep digging for any information on Uncle's kid, and we'll swipe a few million out of Uncle's and Grandma's bank account tonight. It is their turn to get robbed. She nodded in agreement. And hold off on the annulment. I was desperate for a clean slate, a fresh life for Mateo, Ella, and me. But as long as we had ghosts lurking after us, we'd never have a life without looking over our shoulder. Okay, I won't keep bringing it up, I agreed. Let's go check on Mateo and eat something, then we get ready for our outing. We haven't even left yet, and I'm ready to be back and crash for the night. Are you going to sleep in Luciano's room tonight? Ella's eyes twinkled mischievously. Some noises are so hard to unhear. It was so hot. A giggle escaped her right after that statement, and I couldn't help but smile. That right there, mischief and teasing over the years, was what made our life bearable. Sometimes I wished I was a bit more like her, more promiscuous, adventurous, willing to try things out regardless if I thought it was a good idea or not. Yet I had to admit that our personalities, regardless of differences in our promiscuity levels, meshed well. My face flushed, ignoring her comment about the noises she thought she heard. No, I'll just crash in Mateo's room. She threw me a side glance as we walked back in the direction of the dining room and the kitchen. What? I knew that stupid look. All I'm saying is that you might as well take advantage of him while we're here. I shook my head at her stupid suggestion. You always said he was exceptionally good in that department. And you need to get laid. I groaned. Not by him. Well, he is still your husband, so it kinda should be him. Whose side are you on? I hissed. Yours, of course, always yours. But you have to admit, it makes it convenient to just get sex under the same roof. I eyed her suspiciously. Speaking from experience? Blush colored her cheeks. When did you have time to get laid, for Christ's sake? I make time for it. Chuckling softly, she added, Besides, that man is devouring you with his eyes. If you tell him to go down on you, he'd be on you in a millisecond. Oh, wait, he already went down on you and you didn't even ask. I smacked her playfully. He's not devouring me with his eyes, he's killing me with his eyes. Ella got it all wrong. I swear, you're a freak. She laughed harder, nearing the kitchen. No, you are. I heard those sounds in the hallway. I think there's a fire you're hiding behind your anger. You are an ass. I murmured under my breath. I felt heat flame my cheeks. But you still love me. Ugh, she was right. I did love her, like my own sister. At this rate, our life will be very short. Well, maybe you are right, and I should take advantage of his presence, but ensure I have the upper hand. We both entered the kitchen to find all the men seated around the table while Maria served them food. All eyes raised up to us. Mateo was already in the high chair, making a mess of himself with spaghetti while he devoured it. Pizza and spaghetti, along with gelato, and that little guy was in heaven. Ah, perfect. I have a plate for you too. Maria beamed. She loved a full kitchen. I glanced around. Where in the hell did she expect us to squeeze in? God, not spaghetti. Ella mumbled under her breath. I thought we left Italy. A choked laugh escaped me, and I shoved my shoulder gently against hers. Stop it. Ella, you sit next to Massimo. Maria instructed, and my best friend promptly turned an intense shade of red. Next time she suggested I sleep with Luciano, I'd suggest she sleep with Massimo. It was probably who she was referring to anyhow. She always had a crush on him. And you, Grace, sit next to Luciano. No, thank you, I replied quickly. I'll sit next to Matteo. Matteo was seated between Nonno and Luca.
Jeez, you need me to move?
Luca teased. Either that, or I'll have to sit on your lap. Not that I ever would. The words barely left my mouth when Luciano stood up abruptly, his chair falling behind him with a loud thud, making Matteo and myself jump. He stared at me and Luca furiously, ready to murder one of us, or maybe both of us. Matteo's crying immediately followed. He wasn't used to sudden noises and being scared. What the hell, Luciano? I hissed at him, taking Matteo out of his seat. Hey there, it's okay. It was just a chair that fell down. See? I could feel his heartbeat thundering hard in his chest. Nonno stood up too, soothing him in Italian. I couldn't understand a word he said, but it seemed to work.
Luca, Take my seat.
Luciano ordered him, barely keeping his anger at bay. What the hell was this man's problem? Luca muttered something under his breath, but I didn't catch it. Each grabbed their plates and swapped seats. I caught Ella's pointed look, as if she was telling me, "I told you so." I shrugged my shoulders, half tempted to stick my tongue out at her. "I'm not sitting on your lap either, Luciano," I told him, and damn it, if I didn't feel my chest warm up and knew a blush spread up my chest, neck, and cheeks. I hated that my body temperature constantly skyrocketed around him. "So scoot over and bring me another chair."
Jeez, you two sound like an old married couple.
It was Nico that spoke. I narrowed my eyes at him. His tan complexion spoke of his Italian heritage, similarly to Luciano's. Nico appeared clean-cut, but I could see hints of ink under his cufflinks. Probably a wolf dressed in fine clothing. "Would all of you just mind your own damn business?" I wanted to scream at them that we weren't married, we were separated, on our way to getting our marriage annulled. Why in the hell was everyone acting like nothing ever happened? But then I reminded myself of the plan and conversation Ella and I just had. Everything about this situation was agitating me. The fact that my husband got me all hot and bothered, that he breathed, looked my way, and that I was stuck in this situation. Maybe it was a sexual deprivation that made my temper flare up so quickly around him. While I had abstained from moving on with another man, I was certain Luciano had a phone book full of women at his beck and call. With Matteo calm, I put him back into a high chair and sat myself next to my husband. Maybe I will use him, I thought to myself. If my uncle gets his hands on me, I'd be dead. Or wishing I was dead because what they have in store for me was worse than death, so I should have tons of mind-blowing sex and use Luciano for it. Or was I using it as an excuse? The question was whether I could keep my heart out of it. Maria placed a plate in front of me. "I remember you don't like Parmesan. Little one doesn't like it either." Maria had been with the Vitale family for a very long time and knew everyone's dislikes and likes. It had always amazed me how she observed everything. I never told her I hated Parmesan. "No, he doesn't." It was one of the few things he inherited from me. "Thank you, Maria." Satisfied that Matteo was back to eating his dinner, I took a bite of my own food.
Grace, where in Italy did you all live?
Cassio asked. I chewed up my food and swallowed before answering, "South."
How long were you there?
He was seemingly just making conversation, but he was fishing for information. "Not long."
Where were you before Italy?
"Everywhere."
Where was your son born?
Luciano questioned me, and my head snapped to him in agitation. "What is this? 20 questions?" Silence stretched on, while Luciano and I kept our stare-down going.
I love that game.
Luca finally broke the tense silence.
You boys let Gracie be.
Nonno scolded them all. If this situation wasn't so fucked up, I'd laugh at him calling them boys. As it was, though, it was impossible to laugh. I didn't want to give them our life story and everything we've grinded through from the minute we ran off. Yes, I contemplated sleeping with my husband, but I refused to give him anything else. I offered him my heart that day, and he threw it away. "Luciano, do you have an attorney I could use?" I asked, changing the subject. I gave him a fleeting look and returned my eyes to my plate. I knew he'd question my reasoning, so I shoved a spoonful of spaghetti into my mouth. He scoffed.
What for?
I slowly chewed up my food, aware of most men watching me, except for Matteo and Nonno. Those two weren't concerned about tensions between Luciano and myself. I took a drink of my water and answered, setting down my glass. "So when I kill you and I'm put away, I have a guardian appointed for my son." I smiled sweetly at my husband, and a startling realization hit me. I freaking enjoyed this. I enjoyed bickering with Luciano.
Well, could you refrain from killing me?
He didn't seem concerned with my threat at all. Honestly, I was surprised he didn't throw my uncle's name in my face for Mateo's guardian. It's too hard, I taunted sweetly. The urge to pull the trigger is too strong. Was that regret that flashed in his eyes? No, Grace, don't read into anything with him.
And what will you do with the rest of us, Grace?
Cassio asked, leaning against his chair. I almost expected him to reach for his gun. Nano just winked at me. I guess he knew I didn't have it in me.
You know, if you kill one of us, you'll have to kill us all.
I rolled my eyes. That can be arranged. I had to admit, I have officially lost my mind. Maybe this life and death situation with my family finally fucked up my brain. What do you think, Ella? I murmured, seemingly unperturbed. I don't know, Grace. She never stopped eating. Bringing the fork up to her mouth, she continued. Let's wait until tomorrow. I don't want to go out dancing all bruised up or get blood on me. It's a pain to wash it off. I let out an exaggerated sigh. And I was so looking forward to ending these guys. Okay, tomorrow then. I smiled at Cassio and had to hold back my grin at seeing comical expressions on the other men's faces. The only ones that seemed unconcerned were Luciano and Cassio. So, how about that attorney?
What about Ian?
Nono asked, surprising me. I didn't know he knew him. I stiffened at the mention of Ian. He would never be my choice to use. He'd ensure my uncle had a copy and twisted it all into his own favor. No, not Ian, I answered. Nonno nodded, as if he agreed and understood. I really need one tonight, Luciano. I know how you have people that jump just for you. Can I have one before 8 p.m.? 2 frown lines showed on his handsome face, as if he was trying to decipher me. And, unfortunately for me, Luciano was excellent at reading people and figuring out puzzles.
Chapter 15. Luciano. I studied my wife throughout dinner. There was no doubt. She had spread her wings over the time we spent apart. From the moment I found her, she kept surprising me. The latest revelation about her was hard to reconcile with the woman I remembered, the woman I married. But I realized I loved this side of her too. It would seem there wasn't a side of her I didn't enjoy. Grace was the ghost, my runner. Massimo was finally able to penetrate through their firewall and retrieve the email correspondence. Massimo worked through some of her transaction history, and apparently, he still has to break through a few more firewalls so we could track every single one of her transactions. She is the fucking ghost. I was so shocked I couldn't even enjoy the fact my intuition was right when I suspected the ghost was a she. Right now, my first inclination was to deny her a lawyer without knowing what she needed it for. It made me uneasy not knowing, especially as layers of her kept unraveling in the short span of 2 days. But it seemed to be really important to her. Sure, I'll have a guy here in an hour.
Thank you.
She gave me a grateful, soft smile. If only she knew how much power she had over me. She could smile like that and stab me in the heart, and I'd probably let her. Cassio and I still struggled with the connection between their two families. Bells and mobsters. I scoffed again to myself at that notion. Leave it to the king's ancestors to come up with such a ridiculous concept. What was even more ridiculous was that it worked for centuries. Self-hatred filled me remembering that day when I pressed the gun to her head. The snowflake on her long eyelashes. Love and fear mixing in those eyes. I loved my wife even back then. From the very first second I spotted her in my nightclub, she had slowly drawn me under her spell. I wanted to hate her more than anything. I wanted to hate her since the moment we first met. I was bitter at the loss of my mother and sister, blaming her right along with her uncle for it, and she fought to escape him and survive. I wouldn't make the same mistake again. I couldn't blame her for finding someone else and having a child. But now that I had her, and I knew some of the reasons that drove her, I would protect her with all I had, her and her son. "So, were you ladies going out tonight?" Luca asked.
Not sure yet.
Grace's attention was on her son, her voice soft and nonchalant, but I knew without a doubt she was lying. Those two knew exactly where they were going. "You can take my car," I offered. "Your old car is still running, too." There was surprise on her face, but she didn't comment.
Thanks. We'll just take an Uber.
"No, you'll take my car." Why did she have to fight me on everything?
No, I won't.
"Yes, you will." Her eyes flashed annoyance.
Stop pissing me off, Luciano. I can handle getting transportation.
She returned her attention to Matteo, who was done with his dinner and getting crankier by the second.
Let's go take a bath, buddy.
She finally gave up trying to calm him down.
What do you say?
He rubbed his eyes, smearing spaghetti sauce all over his face. Again, I wondered who the boy's father was. Matteo hasn't asked for anyone else since we left Sicily. I started to think he wasn't in the picture at all. Grace struggled with the high chair while trying to keep Matteo from climbing out. "Here, let me help." I got up and lifted him out of the chair, his chubby hands gripping onto my shirt. My heart swelled, causing another crack. The little guy was effortlessly breaking the walls with his small hands, just like his mother. Grace chuckled.
You are wearing spaghetti sauce.
It was her first soft, open expression without any animosity towards me. Maybe it was because I held her son, but fuck it. I was such a sad case, I took it for myself. She leaned over, her hands brushing against my chest as she took Matteo out of my arms.
Come on, handsome. Let's get you washed up and ready for bed.
She murmured softly. She left the kitchen and Ella hurriedly took her last 2 bites, giving me a weird look, and then headed out too. "You are doomed," Alessio muttered. I lifted my eyes to find all the men, including my father and Massimo, watching me. I raised my eyebrow in a silent challenge. "What the hell are you all looking at?"
"I didn't say a word,"
Massimo commented.
"I'm just thinking about the code to break those firewalls."
"Do it fast," I spat out, agitated. Those two are up to something. "Who is Ian?" Nico asked out of the blue. My father had a valid question there, and it surprised me she didn't want to use him. My father leaned back. So far, he just watched silently.
"Ian is the Romano family lawyer."
He and Grace were an item before I got her. I hated the idea of her with him. That guy was a cockroach. My father shook his head.
"No, son, they're not. You have to learn to watch things with a clear mind when it comes to your wife."
I grunted under my breath. Easy for him to say. Grace had my head spinning and my dick rock hard. My father chuckled.
"Ah, Luciano, you remind me so much of myself with your mother."
He rarely spoke of my mother since their death. I knew it pained him, so it was surprising to hear him bring her up. He stood up and headed out of the kitchen. He lingered at the doorway and turned back to us all.
"Boys, it is time you cleaned the rotten apples out of the mix."
All of us watched him, and for the first time in the past 10 years, I wondered if maybe my father didn't keep tabs on what was going on in our world.
"Together you can end women being traded like stock."
He nodded, as if that explained it all, Then his eyes returned to me.
Luciano, keep Gracie and Matteo protected, at all costs.
I fully intended to, starting with her outing tonight. My teeth clenched, the sound of grinding breaking the silence. I watched my wife dance with Ian fucking Laszlo, and my fingers itched for my gun. Anger burned beneath my skin, searing the flames to all-time highs. The irrational part of me thundered in my ears, edging me on. Go ahead and smash his head. Red crept into my vision, and it took all I had not to smash every single item in Cassio's office. The dance floor was crowded, and each time someone bumped into Grace, she inched closer to Ian. I hated that fucking guy's guts. My wife looked happy, carefree and beautiful, startlingly beautiful. Her hair sparkling like flames even in the dark of the nightclub. The young girl of 21 was gone, and in her place was this woman who was sure of herself. She knew what she liked and what she wanted. Definitely not me. It didn't matter, though. She'd only get what I say or offer, and she'll fucking like it. Too bad she betrayed me 3 years ago. We could have been good together, spent the last 3 years enjoying each other. I still remembered the way she tasted, that attraction the moment our eyes locked. Even after 3 years apart, it didn't diminish. It was still there, although Grace ignored it. She no longer wanted it, wanted nothing to do with me. Point taken, wife. But I'll be damned if I let you wrap yourself around another man while you are still my wife. And she would be my wife till death do us part. Luciano, you should stop looking. It was a sane suggestion, except there wasn't a single sane cell in my body at this moment. True to my wife's word, she took an Uber. Lucky for me, I was able to track her and Ella's movement via their phones. Massimo hasn't broken through all firewalls, but whatever he did, it was enough to be able to pin their location. And lucky for me again, she was in Cassio's nightclub in New York, Temptation. The unlucky part came in seeing my wife dance with him, that motherfucker Ian. My wife's hands lazily moved from his chest and down his stomach. Cassio was right next to me, watching the scene unfold. Of course, he didn't fume. It wasn't his wife out there on the floor, her skimpy little black dress making every man in the club worship her with their eyes. Ian's hand snaked to cup her ass, and I could see him squeeze her butt from here. All kinds of images of me sawing off his hands played in my mind. I could start with ridding him of his hands, then move on to slowly cutting his stomach and removing his guts while he wailed in pain, begging for mercy. He wouldn't get any. Watching my wife dancing with Ian spread the boiling rage and jealousy within me like wildfires. Seeing the hands of that prick on her body, his eyes on her, I wanted to gouge out his eyes and then torture him for days until he couldn't remember her name. The problem was that he would still remember her. Grace wasn't the type of woman anyone could forget. I'll kill him, I thought with finality. Are her hands going into his pockets? Cassio's voice penetrated the red fog, and that was it. All my fury unleashed. It took me less than 30 seconds to find myself right behind my wife on the dance floor, Ian's hands on her ass. Wrong girl, I spat out. My fist connected with his jaw, and he went flying across the dance floor.
Are you fucking nuts?
Grace shouted, clearly furious at me. Yeah, fuck that this pervert just touched my wife, or that she touched him. Nobody touches you, I snapped at my wife. The word mine seared into my chest, the word on repeat in my brain. And if you don't want him to lose a fucking limb, don't touch him either. I took 2 steps, and lifted the bastard off the ground with my hand, gripping his neck, while my free hand curled into a fist and connected with the other side of his face. We can't have that pretty face being unevenly bruised, can we? I gritted out, a dark smile pulling on the corners of my lips. I landed another punch. No one touches what's mine. No one looks at what's mine, and Grace is mine, you motherfucker. Everything around me became a white noise in my head, my only focus on the sleaze bag that dared to grope my wife's ass. Cassio pulled me off the bloody bastard, his face a fucking bloody mess. "Grace, you and Ella with me, now," Cassio snapped at her. I reached out and tugged on my wife's hand, pulling her along. In shock, she followed without question, Ella on her tail. Cassio barked orders to his bouncers to pick up Ian and bring him along too. I would rather leave the fucker on the floor, maybe punch him a few more times. Once we were inside Cassio's office, the door firmly shut behind us. I pulled my wife closer to me, inhaling deeply her scent. In her state, she just let me.
Are you okay?
Her voice was soft, her eyes shifting down my body and stopping on my bloody knuckles. "He touched you." She blinked several times, confusion in her beautiful violet eyes. "Nobody touches you but me." I grabbed her around the throat, pressing gently, just so she understood how serious I was. "You touch another man, and you sign his death sentence. I'll kill any man that you touch." Her eyes went to Ella, and then shifted to Cassio. "He's your husband," he muttered.
I take it back, Grace.
Ella murmured low, her eyes watching me warily.
You should abstain. He's fucking crazy.
Damn fucking right I was crazy. Jealousy simmered like red rage through me. "What were you doing with him?" My voice was sharp. Grace froze and swallowed hard, her gaze guarded.
I needed something,
she murmured. To my surprise, Cassio came to her rescue. "Did you take something out of his pocket?" Her head snapped to him, but she didn't deny it.
Yes, the keys to his place.
Her voice was barely above a whisper. She must have been in a great state of shock to be answering questions without snapping at either one of us. Why? I tried hard to keep my head cool. Despite my age, I had to admit my father was right. I had a hard time thinking rationally around my wife. She licked her lower lip nervously.
I need a copy of my parents' will.
That was not the response I anticipated.
Chapter 16. Grace. I think my husband is psychotic. And God help me, I might be too, because when Luciano claimed me as his in the middle of the nightclub, every inch of my skin warmed, and his burning gaze sent a warm shiver down my spine. I watched in shock as he used Ian's face as a punching bag. I didn't even know he was in the club. After the lawyer drafted the will, Nonno witnessed it, and Luciano's attorney assured me it was valid as of that moment. Ella and I rushed to get ready. Yes, Luciano dragged me back to the States, but now I took charge of what I could do, however little that might be. I had to do something, starting with obtaining a copy of my parents' will. But this was not how I envisioned our night ending. I wet my lips, trying to calm my nerves. Luciano wanted to know why I stole Ian's keys out of his pocket. I need a copy of my parents' will. I couldn't come up with any feasible explanation other than the truth. My husband's bloody knuckles reminded me how brutal he could be. Something deep in my stomach always pulled me towards him. I was a fool to think there was ever a chance of me moving on. The ember of hope, just like that cold January night, flickered, coming back to life. I should never forgive him. A normal person would never forgive him, yet my heart wanted him. It only ever glowed for him, like a damn lightning bug at dusk. and he could squash me like that bug. And still, my stupid heart would only beat for him. Luciano and our son were my whole heart. His hazel eyes on me were warm, emotions swirling in them that reflected my heart. I stepped towards him, the pull he had over me strong. His clean palm cupped my face, and I wanted nothing more than to press my face into his chest.
You were going to break into his house.
Disbelief and amusement danced in his eyes. I nodded and thought I heard him mutter,
What happened to my sweet Grace?
My lungs tightened and my heart constricted in a strange way. It was a reminder not to let him hurt me again. There was no mistaking it. I never got over my husband. He would eat me alive, and next time, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to pick up the fractured pieces of my heart. We only live once. That was the dumbest justification ever.
Luca could do it.
Cassio's voice interrupted the world where only Luciano and I existed. I blinked in confusion, wondering what he was suggesting. I had completely forgotten about him and Ella.
Luca could go into Ian Laszlo's house and get the will. He can break into any safe.
Ella and I shared a glance. Neither one of us thought about a safe.
Grace, let Luca do it.
Luciano's tone was commanding, and my instinct to fight him flared up.
He's one of the best when it comes to that stuff.
We don't know how to break into a safe. Ella must have picked up on my intent to argue with Luciano. Might not be a bad idea, she murmured. She was right. It was actually a very good idea. I extended my hand and opened my palm, showing the key I had taken from Ian. My palm had an imprint of the key dug into it from the sheer force of my squeeze, protecting a possible key to my future. It has to be done tonight, I muttered, meeting Cassio's whiskey gaze. And we have to return the key before he goes home. Cassio immediately sprang into action. He phoned Luca, and he was here within 5 minutes along with Massimo. It made me think he lurked somewhere in the shadows of the nightclub.
I'll go check on our fallen fighter and keep him busy.
Cassio commented and left the room.
Massimo, take Ella back to the house.
Luciano ordered.
I'll bring Grace back. Take the safer out.
I glanced Ella's way to ensure she was okay with that plan. She must have been, because she was already making her way to Massimo. With everyone gone, Luciano and I were left alone. I chewed on my bottom lip, forcing myself to meet my husband's gaze. You shouldn't have lost your temper like that. He seemed unconcerned. His hand slid to the back of my head, his fingers threading through my hair. Right now, I was happy that I decided to leave it down. I loved his smell and the strength of his touch. Our gazes locked, our lips inches apart. His thumb brushed across my lips. My pulse raced, my need grew. We should clean up your bloody knuckles, I whispered, because I was scared to say anything else. I felt tension rolling off Luciano for the next hour while we waited for Luca to get back. But it wasn't an angry tension, more like anticipation of something that was to come between us. I sensed his eyes on me, tracking my every move and every breath. My skin itched with that same anticipation, the one that would unravel me in the best way possible, but could also destroy me with its invisible hold. Cassio returned from checking on Ian and sat in the room with us. I learned this nightclub was his. Talk about an odd coincidence. It was probably how Luciano ended up here and saw me dancing with Ian. Have you heard from Luca? I have been pacing back and forth, wondering what took Cassio's brother so long. Ian's place was right around the corner.
No, not yet.
Both men's gazes were on me. And Ian? I questioned.
He's still here.
Cassio responded, leaning back into his seat. I could clearly tell by Luciano's look and posture he didn't give a damn about Ian.
Slightly woozy after the meds he received.
You drugged him.
Just a small dose of a sleeping aid.
That's good. I agreed in a raspy voice. I couldn't feign wrongdoing when it was something Ella and I contemplated ourselves. Hell, we even talked about killing him. Luciano sat manspreading on the couch, his eyes boring into me while his arm rested behind the head of the couch. He looked comfortable, not a single worry on his face. I, on the other hand, kept worrying about everything. I chewed on my lip. Did Ella get home safe?
Yes.
He almost looked bored sitting there. Didn't he realize shit was happening? I wondered what was going through Luciano's head because I couldn't read that man to save my life. Maybe it was exactly that which made him a good mobster. I resumed my pacing again. The office door opened and Luca strode in. I rushed to his side.
Oh, were you worried about me?
He teased me. No, I was worried about you finding the right documents. I didn't notice until now he had a manila envelope in his hands.
You mean this?
He raised the folder, waving it in front of me. Did you read it?
Yes.
I narrowed my eyes on him.
That fucking safe he had was something. Took me longer than usual to break into it.
Thank God he went. He handed me the envelope, and I grabbed it eagerly. Pulling the papers out, my eyes scanned through it.
So, how long has your uncle been stealing from you?
Luca's question had me pause and lift my eyes to him. Truth was, I didn't know, but I suspected probably from the moment he became my guardian. We have to return the key to Ian, I answered instead.
Done.
With a nod, I strode to the chair in the furthest corner of the room and started reading. Zeroing on the date, I raised my eyes to find all three of the men watching me. Was this the only will and only copy? A smile tugged on Luca's lips.
You want this one too?
He pulled out another manila envelope. I rolled my eyes. Yes, I want everything you have taken that has to do with me.
Woman, you do not want to know all that.
He retorted.
Besides, it would have required a damn file cabinet to get all of that out of there.
I sighed. I should have gone with you. Can I have it? I extended my arm. I assume you read this one too? He handed me the folder and then leaned against the window. Luciano was the closest to me, Cassio directly across from me, and Luca on my right.
I did. It reads the same with the exception of the guardian and power of attorney designator.
I pulled the document out, skimming through the key sections, and my eyes widened. What the? How could that be? That document designated Luciano's father as my guardian and executor of all my inheritance. My eyes darted between the lines, my brain flabbergasted at the revelation. Did Luciano know? Did his father? I didn't know they knew my parents. And that's when I found it. The loophole. I quickly dug the latest document that designated my uncle as my guardian and searched out the same paragraph. It's still there, I murmured to myself. Ian made a mistake and left a loophole in both documents.
What is?
Luciano's question startled me. My head snapped up, my eyes darting between the three men. Luca answered him.
The loophole.
I nodded. Yes, the loophole.
Well, you two are at an advantage. You've read both documents. Can you summarize it for us?
Luciano didn't like to be in the dark. Did you know? I asked him, watching for signs of deceit.
You will have to be a bit more specific.
He replied, a frown on his face.
Did I know what?
I shook my head. The original will by my parents had your father as my guardian and executor of the inheritance. The expression on his face told me he didn't know it.
Are you sure?
I handed him the will, while my brain worked furiously. There was so much I didn't know. How would I ever find out all the secrets with my parents gone? Why didn't he ever say anything?
Are you going to exercise the loophole?
Luca asked. He turned his gaze to Cassio.
She doesn't get her inheritance until she turns 25, unless...
He paused, I guess for the special effect or something.
Unless she gets married. How is it that you didn't know this?
I never received a copy of the will. I was 12 when my parents died.
Hasn't Ian told you that?
Luciano asked in a growl.
He's your attorney and should be looking out for you.
No, obviously he hasn't. I replied bitterly. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to resort to stealing it from him. He only serves my uncle's interests, in case it escapes you. Ian is my uncle's lover, has been for a while. Luciano's expression was comical.
What? Are you sure?
I rolled my eyes. Yes, I'm sure. They have been an item behind closed doors for a long time. I didn't have to wonder what my husband was thinking. And no, Luciano, he never dated me. Both Ian and my uncle needed a diversion, someone to cover their relationship. He didn't comment further. Not that it would matter, whatever he thought. His eyes went back to my parents' document.
You are worth quite a penny.
Luciano muttered, his eyes darting through the pages of my parents' will. Apparently, not enough. Because my husband threw me away. There was no time for bitterness nor regrets. I didn't care about the money. It was obvious my parents didn't want my uncle or my grandmother to get their dirty hands on it. Not that I could blame them, considering what they were doing. I could transfer it all into Matteo's name. If something happened to me, he'd be taken care of. The will I have put in place already designated him or any future children I might have, which I won't have any, as my beneficiaries.
Grace, let me help you.
Luciano's offer startled me. I forgot about all of their presence as I worked out a plan in my mind. I didn't trust him, any of them. After all, they were criminals, and I could still feel the press of the cold metal pushed against my temple as he was getting ready to pull the trigger. Yes, I wanted him, craved him even. My heart belonged to my husband. But I wouldn't be that naive girl that believed he'd take care of me anymore. I couldn't rely on anyone but myself and Ella. So, I'd use him, his resources, and his mind. I need your lawyer again, I said, my mind made up. He pulled out his phone and dialed his contact.
Is there anything I can do to help?
Cassio asked. I shook my head. I wouldn't dare ever trust a king with anything. Cassio and Luca King must not know about the Romano-Bell arrangement, otherwise they would have taken me to their father at first sight. I trusted them even less than Luciano. After the beating Luciano had given Ian, I was inclined to think maybe he wouldn't let them take me and sell me to the highest bidder. Besides, I was already married. So what good would I possibly do them? Those Bells supposedly were auctioned off to marry high-ranking and the richest mobsters of the world. Or do other things, I thought, with a frozen fear. Yes, I had to transfer everything I owned, including my parents' inheritance, to Matteo. So if I fell into their clutches, they couldn't put their dirty paws on something that belonged to my son.
Giuseppe is on his way.
Thanks,
You're going to keep us in the dark, aren't you?
Luca asked. Yes. None of this has anything to do with any of you. Liar. Thanks for your help, though, in retrieving the documents. I sent a note to Ella, knowing she'd be worrying. One loophole. We always kept our text messages short. Her reply was thumbs up. 20 minutes later, Luciano's lawyer entered with one of the club bouncers.
Laszlo is gone.
He informed Cassio and Luciano.
Mrs. Vitale, twice in one night.
Giuseppe didn't seem upset to have been dragged into a club in the middle of the night. He probably did it often. It also didn't escape me that Luciano noticed I didn't correct the man for calling me by my married name. "Sorry about that," I muttered. "I'd like to have all of my inheritance transferred to Matteo's name." I handed him both copies of the will, aware of all three men's shocked gazes on me. The executor and power of attorney should have been removed a while back. I watched as his eyes roamed the pages. "If we could do it as soon as possible, that would be ideal," I added.
Going somewhere, wife?
I ignored Luciano's question.
I can have it done first thing tomorrow morning.
He glanced at his watch.
Well, this morning, when offices open.
He continued, chuckling. It was a little past midnight now.
I'm assuming the guardian you appointed earlier remains unchanged.
I nodded. "That's correct." He gave me a pensive look.
Will there be problems with Mr. Laszlo? Ian Laszlo will not be a problem.
Cassio chimed in, surprising me.
He will probably spend the next 2 days recovering from a major hangover.
Perfect. I wouldn't ask any questions. Ian chose his side when he started working with my uncle against my well-being. We worked out a few more details, and Giuseppe was on his way. "Well, I'm going to get going too," I told them tiredly. I headed for the door, glancing over my shoulder. "Thanks for your help. You guys enjoy the rest of your night." Luciano actually chuckled.
You are not going anywhere alone. I'll take you home.
I rolled my eyes, noting amused expressions on Luca's and Cassio's faces. I am quite capable of going places alone.
I'm sure you are. But I'll be taking you home regardless. And stop rolling your eyes.
I rolled my eyes again, just to make a statement. Although my lips curved into a smile on their own, with a stupid excitement at challenging him. Maybe I got off on challenging him. His big arm wrapped around my waist as he nudged me out of Cassio's office.
Good night, you two. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Luca mused.
Or maybe you shouldn't do what my brother would do.
Cassio drawled with a grin on. Whatever. Those two totally had the wrong idea. Didn't they? Then why did I feel this longing ache between my thighs? Luciano's arm around me, we walked through the nightclub, glances thrown our way from all corners. He didn't pay attention to anyone but me. His steps rushed, like the club would be set on fire at any second. Slow down, Luciano. The moment we were outside, his body pressed against mine, cornering me against the wall. He had a gun underneath his sophisticated Brioni suit, ruthlessness dressed up. He might have looked like a businessman, but he was a cobra, ready to strike. His body pressed against mine, his heat seeping into every pore of me. His lips were barely an inch from mine when he rasped,
Next time I see any man touch my wife, I'll cut off each one of their fingers.
He growled.
One by fucking one. And then I'll slice off their hands. After that, I'll gut them. Nice and slow.
I watched the burning inferno and fury in his eyes. He had always been possessive, but this was a whole new level. Desire pooled between my thighs. My body shouldn't be reacting this way. My lips parted on their own, a rush of blood ringing in my ears. I was turned on, unlike ever before. I was just dancing. My voice was breathless. I nervously licked my lower lip. I needed to get that will. Why was I justifying myself? Besides, I'm practically not your wife anymore. Even as those words left my mouth, I pushed off the wall, wanting to feel every ounce of his body flushed against mine. He groaned and pressed his pelvis against my lower belly. He was hard, his cock straining against his pants and now against the thin material of my dress.
Does this feel like you're not my wife?
Oh my God. My chest would explode any minute. I had no idea how my hands found themselves under his suit jacket, my palms against his chest. My head swam with desire, drunk on it. The moment I felt my husband's mouth on my neck, a loud moan escaped me.
That's right.
His lips moved over my overly sensitive skin.
You are mine.
His lips left a trail of the sweetest, searing sensation. He nipped, he kissed, he licked. I felt his hands on my ass, pulling me harder against him. Luciano. My voice was breathless, slutty. I didn't care. I wanted my husband. Please.
Sir?
A voice came from the distance, but I didn't care. Don't stop. I begged, my hands fisting his shirt in my grip, pulling him closer. He sucked on my neck.
Fuck, you smell good.
Sir?
The same voice again. Luciano raised his head, my eyes watching him through heavy eyelids. I felt drunk, but it had nothing to do with alcohol.
Get lost,
He ordered. I couldn't tear my gaze away from him. I didn't want to come to my senses. It would be stupid, and I'd regret it tomorrow. I'd regret it for the rest of my life, but right now, I needed him like the air I breathed. I'm using him. That was it.
He's gone.
He led me to his car that someone pulled in front of the club and sat me into the passenger seat. The throbbing between my legs was unbearable. I needed the ache to go away. I watched as Luciano got behind the wheel, put his McLaren into drive, all the while painfully aware that I needed this ache to be gone. I have pleasured myself for the past 3 years, and right now I was so tempted to do the same. I must have lost my mind, because the fact that Luciano was next to me driving only excited me more. I shifted in my seat to ease the ache. It made the throbbing worse. My heart raced. My body needed his hands on me. As if he read my mind, his hand reached over. He put his palm on my thigh, slowly pulling the dress up till his palm rested on my skin, and a needy whimper left my lips. My hand covered his big hand, and I placed it over my pussy.
Fuck.
He groaned, his eyes burning into me.
You are fucking drenched.
Pull over, Luciano. My voice was raspy, breathless, needy. It took him 10 seconds to take a sharp turn off the main road into the closest alley and put his car into park. He reached for my seatbelt, unbuckled it, and grabbed me by my waist, hauling me over onto his lap. I shifted so I was straddling him. My mouth clashed against his lips tasted of liquor and him. The taste of him that I've been craving for the past 3 years. My lips parted and he accepted the invitation by plunging his tongue into my mouth, conquering it. Moans escaped my lips, getting swallowed by this man that shattered me to pieces. I ground against his hard shaft. His hand tightened on my hips as I kissed him, hungry, frantic. He consumed me. Every single emotion within me shook with overwhelming need for this man. His hand cupped the back of my neck as he sucked on my tongue, kissing me hard. I moaned into his mouth, my fingers pushing through his hair, all the way down to his nape. God, he smelled divine, tasted even better. Like cognac, citrus, and a woodsy cologne. Same as before. I I rolled my hips, friction between us making me gasp. A shredding sound reached through the haze in my brain. In shock, I realized he tore my panties off of me. Before I could even process that fact, his finger touched my clit and every single thought fled my mind. It was only him, in every single cell, every single breath.
Mine.
He hissed.
Say it.
He felt amazing. Luciano, please. He thrust a finger inside me and my hips started moving against it. My blood ignited, my body burned with every touch he gave me.
So wet.
He groaned.
Say, you are mine.
Oh, God. I moved against him, grinding against him. This was so much better than my own touch while I fantasized about him. I never came close to this high. Yes. He pulled his finger out. His other hand came to my hip, and his fingers dug into flesh, willing me to still. My eyes shot open, and our gazes locked. Our breathing was the only sound in the car, and as I watched him through heavy eyelids, he brought his finger to his sinful lips and licked it clean.
Fuck, you taste amazing.
He rasped.
Just like my wife.
My breathing hitched, and my ears buzzed with desire and blood pumping through my veins. My hand went to his pants. I lifted my butt off of his lap just enough to unbuckle him. The sound of the belt, followed by the zipper, and our labored breathing vibrated within the car. He still didn't wear boxers. My hand wrapped around his cock, and his head fell backwards.
Grace, fuck yeah.
I pumped up and down, watching him with hunger. I bit into my lip to stop moans from leaving, the sight of him erotic. He threw his head back, the look of pure bliss on his face. I wanted to taste him, to see if he tasted as good as I remembered. The ink on his neck tempted me. I licked my lips, and his hand cupped the back of my head, pulling me hard to him. His teeth nipped my jaw. Then his lips ran up my neck before pressing to my ear.
You are mine. Say it.
Yes. I breathed.
Say it, wife.
I'm yours. A groan rumbled from his throat. Then he grabbed my hips and slammed inside of me, filling me to the hilt. A scream of pleasure pierced through the interior of the car, and it was mine.
Chapter 17. Luciano. Seeing Ian dance with my wife made me want to shoot the motherfucker and get rid of him forever. But the beating I gave him would have to do. For now. It seemed my father was right. I was blind when it came to Grace. Finding out that Ian was Alfonso's lover was a major surprise. But right now, none of it mattered. Only my wife in my arms, her pussy around my cock. I would never let her go. Annulment was a bullshit excuse. I'd make her love me, stay with me, forever.
I'm yours.
Her soft voice and her moans were an addiction. She was my addiction. I thrust inside her, my fingers digging into her soft flesh. It was home. She was home. She froze, and I instantly followed suit. What's the matter, Tesoro? Fuck, I hope I wasn't too rough and hurt her.
We need a condom.
She breathed. Resentment swam inside my chest. I was her husband. How many men did she put a condom on? I pushed the thoughts away. She was mine. She told me she was mine. I'd make her keep that word for the rest of our lives. I was hers, and she was mine from this day forward. No. I thrust up into her again, the heat and tightness gripping my cock. Her head fell into the crook of my neck. Her moans she tried to hold back right at my ear. You are my wife. I pulled her dress straps down. They fell off her slim shoulders, exposing her strapless nude bra, and I reached behind her to unhook it, her full breasts at my full view.
Luciano, we need a...
You are my wife, I repeated, and bent my head to take her nipple in between my teeth. I tugged on it with my teeth, and a sharp cry escaped her. I grabbed her hips once more, moving her hard on me. She ground against me, up and down, her clit against my pelvis. Her moans became louder with each pump. I was so close to exploding. I gritted my teeth hard, wanting to ensure her pleasure before mine. She disarmed me, stripped away all my fucking reason, and she wasn't even trying. You'd think I was a teenage boy having his first fuck. Because this was what my wife did to me every single time. Every time with her was better, new, and all-consuming. She was my storm and my calm. She had the power to tear me to pieces.
Luciano, I'm so close.
She moaned against my lips. I reached between our bodies and rubbed her clit. Her body grinding against mine, her tight pussy around my cock. Ask me to come inside you, I demanded, my voice rough. Her moans were loud, her breathing labored. I watched her pale skin flush through heavy lids, and she looked like a goddess riding my cock. Ask me, I groaned, ready to explode.
Please come inside me.
Another thrust, and she exploded around me, her insides clenching around my cock and her moans in my ear. With a heavy groan, I followed her right over the edge. I forced her to move against me, to prolong the high, this fucking feeling I missed for the last 3 years. I buried my head in her hair, my hand against her chest. Under my palm, her heart thundered hard, just like mine. My heartbeat followed hers, beating only for her, just like my life was only hers.
Chapter 18. Grace. I woke up with a warm body pressed against my back, a man's strong arms around me. In Luciano's bed. I slept with my husband and had sex numerous times. My body was enveloped in the sweetest exhaustion. And my heart, oh, my heart. My heart melted with every word he whispered last night, every promise he gave, and every endearment he called me. Some I understood, others I didn't. I was a fool to ever think I could just use him for sex to sate my craving. It was always so much more with Luciano. I tried to put up my walls after our fling in the car. I really did. Then we got home, and he pretty much swooped me up into his arms and strode into the house, his mouth colliding with mine, then straight through to our bedroom, like I was his new bride, just like he did all those years ago. Luciano, stop it, I whispered softly, never ceasing my fingers as they trailed across the keys of the piano. His warm mouth trailed soft kisses along the back of my neck, sending shivers down my spine. Yet my neck tilted on its own will, just slightly, in order to accommodate him better. It has been like this with him since the beginning. My body always accommodated his touch, needing it. We've been married for a month now. We aren't newlyweds anymore. My fingers continued to caress the keys, tunes of Lección No. 1 echoing softly through Luciano's empty house. I always loved music. It was something I inherited from my mother. This has always been one of my favorite melodies. The memories of my childhood warmed my chest. I'd be sitting by the fireplace with my father as I watched my mother play, her graceful fingers moving over the keys with practiced ease. She was an opera singer, but she loved to play the piano. This grand piano that Luciano had was just as impressive as my mother's. Although, for as long as we've been married, I never heard anyone play. I wished my mother's piano was here. It was part of our family for generations, part of the Astor legacy.
I want to fuck you now, Grace.
I felt his lips move against my skin, his breath searing my skin.
On this piano, I want to bury my cock deep inside you.
The music stumbled, my fingers tripping over the notes. I sensed his satisfied smirk, though I couldn't see his face.
You want that too?
He rasped. His body pressed against my back. My core heated with his words, my panties drenched with the insatiable desire he seemed to constantly feed. It wouldn't take him long to strip me naked. I only wore one of his button-down shirts and panties. In one smooth move, his hands gripped my waist, then lifted me up and sat my ass on the black, shiny surface of the grand piano. The cold surface under my ass sent shivers through my lust-sizzling body. Our eyes locked, his gaze full of heat and hunger, for me. My body responded without any thoughts needed. I spread my legs slowly, my core welcoming him. His hands roamed down my hips to my thighs. The shredding sound of my panties filled the night. By now, I was used to Luciano's passion. There wasn't a flash of panic when his hands roughly handled my body. Instead, my body had been responding to it, just like now. The heady, slow burn of arousal flickered through every inch of me. It felt like a growing fire, spreading uncontrollably. My eyes never wavered from his face, watching every flicker of emotion on his face. His hazel eyes burned from within with the same fire I felt in my veins. The cold piano under my ass was such a contrast to my body's inferno. His finger dragged through my folds, exploring.
You're drenched.
A groan tore through his throat, and every fiber of me vibrated to his words.
For me.
It didn't matter how many times he touched me. Each time felt new, better with him. On its own will, my body arched up against him as I watched him under my heavy eyelids. His fingers slammed into me, and a loud moan vibrated through the room.
I fucking love your sounds.
He groaned. I barely had time to draw a quick breath before his other hand fisted my hair and his mouth crashed down on mine, angling my head for deeper tongue penetration. His kiss was hard, demanding, and my legs hooked around his waist.
Take the shirt off.
He rasped.
I want to see every inch that belongs to me.
In rushed movements, I obeyed his command, and in seconds I sat naked on his piano, waiting for what was coming next. He stepped closer to me, both my thighs wrapping around his waist. His body pressed against mine, his mouth moving down my neck to my collarbone, then shoulders. When his mouth reached my breasts, he licked and sucked on my nipples until I was panting. God, I couldn't wait to feel him inside me, feel his hot skin against mine. His rough, calloused hand gently pushed me to lay back, the cold surface of the piano cooling the skin on my back. He kissed his way down my stomach until he reached my pussy. His fingers pushed deeper inside me, then out and thrust inside again. My hips rocked against him, my head whipped from side to side. I closed my eyes, flying high, relishing in the sensation.
Keep your eyes on me, tesoro.
He commanded in a hoarse voice. I opened my eyes, and seeing my husband between my thighs nearly unraveled me. My back arched off the piano as he pinched my nipple with his other hand. "Please, Luciano," I begged.
What do you need?
He knew what I needed. Nobody was ever so in tune with my body as this man. His mouth reached my pussy. He was so close. The anticipation was killing me. I wanted his mouth on my sensitive folds. I ached for him there. He must have taken pity on me because I felt his teeth scrape over my clit just before he sucked on it. A delightful shiver rippled through my body. Ah! My fingers intertwined through his hair, his soft strands of familiarity I never wanted to give up. His mouth was merciless, licking and sucking my pussy, his finger working in and out of me. He devoured me, sucking hard on my clit and thrusting his tongue inside me. My insides quivered, reaching higher and higher for the peak. The overload of sensation caused me to yelp, my body withering away from him. But my husband's hands clamped on my hips, forcing me to hold still till my body came apart. Fuck! I screamed as an orgasm rippled through me and white lights flashed behind my eyelids. Before I came down from my heights, Luciano lifted me off the piano, turning me over while planting my feet on the ground.
Bend over and brace yourself,
He demanded hoarsely. I barely followed his command, placing my palms flat against the piano, the cold surface against my chest sending goosebumps through every inch of my heated skin. He made quick work of getting rid of my pajama pants. His hand gripped my hips, and he drove into me from behind, my body still shivering with the orgasm. One deep thrust through my clenching pussy, and I was ready for him. Every fiber of me was so in tune with his needs, just as he was with mine.
Don't ever forget who you belong to,
He growled. He pounded into me, his grunts mingling with my whimpering moans. The sound of piano notes penetrated through my sex-drenched fog. With each plunge of his, my body pushed against the keyboard, creating a note in tune with his thrusts.
That's right.
He groaned.
You are mine.
He thrust into me again, hard and deep. The sounds from the strings resonated through the room as he fucked me hard. The sound of flesh slapping against flesh in tune with the deep notes. The pure sensation of fire and my love for him melted into liquid gold as another volcano erupted. I pressed my mouth against my hand in an attempt to muffle my screams. Luciano's own roar followed right behind me as his cock pulsed inside me, spilling his release. I felt his strong body pressed against my back, and any rational thought evaporated, leaving only the passion for this man. The music notes created by our bodies pressing against the keys ended, our bodies sated, and every single piece of me fluttered away, straight into my husband's arms. As I took a deep breath, I tried to shift when he scooped me up into his arms. "What are you doing?" I gasped at his sudden movement.
I'm carrying my bride over the threshold of my bedroom.
I should have known I had fallen for him that day. Luciano's big body stirred behind me, his arm tightening around my waist. God, it felt good having his arm around me, but it was stupid. I shouldn't have succumbed to my desire for him. Yet my body didn't mind at all. I was relaxed and sated more than I have been in years. I risked glancing over my shoulder and found my husband sound asleep. His sharp features were still striking, even in sleep. But there were also traces of a gentle boy he once was, before he became a ruthless and dangerous man. His dark hair fell over his eye, and I knew it was soft as silk. Our son had the exact same hair color as his father. God, I wanted to twist around and wrap my arms around my husband, touch his hair, his inked skin, make him mine. But I didn't want to risk waking him up. And truthfully, he wasn't mine. Not really. Most of the night, what we'd done was intense, rough, like two starving humans that hadn't experienced touch in far too long. I preferred that to the gentleness. His softness and tenderness would break me. After all night of starved and greedy sex, he took me into the shower and tore down every inch of my walls. I was grateful for the shower sprinkling water all over my face, because what we had done felt damn close to lovemaking. The water from the shower hid my tears that escaped, rolling down my face at hearing my husband murmur words of love as he slowly slid in and out of me. Slowly wiggling out of his warm, strong grip, I grabbed my panties and one of his shirts. Before leaving, my gaze traveled over his muscled body. Ink covered so much of his skin. Sleeves of ink painted both of his arms and hands. His chest and torso had magnificent tattoos that I could spend days studying. My eyes lingered on his chest, and then I saw it, and my heart skipped a beat. It can't be. Leaning closer, that was when I saw it. Sola Grazia, by grace alone. The tattoo over the left side of his chest. He didn't have it before. How did I not notice it the morning Matteo fell asleep against him? Was there a meaning to this tattoo? It could mean nothing. Yes, it's probably better not to read too much into that. I tiptoed towards the door, softly opened the bedroom door with a silent click, and snuck out of his room like a thief, then rushed to Ella. Before passing by Matteo's room, I checked on my son. Still in a deep sleep, his hair fell down on his forehead in exactly the same manner as his father's. I reached out, brushing it off his forehead gently. My son has been my heart from the second I felt him move inside me. Living without Luciano shattered my heart, but living without Matteo would break me. I had to ensure he was safe, regardless of the cost, to me or anyone else. Leaving his room, I continued toward Ella's room. We ran into each other 10 feet from her bedroom door. She was coming from the opposite direction, wearing someone else's shirt. Massimo's, if I had to guess. Our eyes locked, both of us in a state of undress. She gave me a sheepish smile. I guess we both had a wild night, I muttered, shaking my head. It would seem both of us were stupid. But what a night, she replied wistfully. With a soft chuckle, although somewhat coated with bitterness, we both entered her room. I thought of something, I told her. I wouldn't grill her about Massimo. She'd tell me if she needed to talk about it. It was the same with me. That was what made us great friends. We trusted each other and always listened when the other needed to vent. But we never asked, pried, or demanded to know it all. What? I pulled her into her room, and we sat down on her bed before I started. My grandmother usually holds her annual gala every year. It is supposed to be tomorrow. What if we made an appearance there? Grandma and Uncle usually never miss it. She frowned. Yeah, I remember, but what good would that do? We could take them both down, there. The silence followed, our gazes locked. We had never killed. I never thought I'd hurt another human being. It wasn't me. But if it came down to them or us, well, it had to be them. I'll do it, I murmured. My family had taken so much from me, but even with all that knowledge, the thought of killing them didn't come easily. But that's not going to fix our problem in full, though. What do you mean? Even with them gone, that agreement of selling me still stands. It has been standing for centuries. Same is true for your parents' agreement for you. My uncle might have ruined your family, but he sold that agreement to Benito King. What are you saying, Grace? Heartbeat of silence. We have to kill all the kings. Are you suicidal? I understood her hesitation. After all, the King family has been known for their cruelty, ruthlessness, and bloodthirst. We'd have to kill them all at the same time, otherwise they'd hunt us down. And Grace, they wouldn't just kill us. I watched her expression, fear coloring her features. She was right. They wouldn't just kill us. They'd make us regret ever being born. The word was they tortured their enemies for years. I know, I murmured. But what other way could we ensure they never got their hands on us? I took a deep breath in and then slowly exhaled. Gabriella, if they get their hands on us, we are dead anyhow. Fuck. I agreed with that word exactly. Either way, we were fucked, and we'd have to go into a lifetime of hiding. My heart squeezed painfully at the thoughts of not seeing Matteo every day. It made it hard to breathe. Surviving the loss of Luciano was hard, but I wasn't sure if I could survive losing Matteo. But he'll be alive. Luciano will ensure his safety as soon as he finds out he is his son. Matteo's safety was all that mattered. I wanted him to grow up into a man, a good man. Hopefully, Luciano would respect my wishes not to pull him into his criminal world. What about Cassio and Luca King? Ella questioned. What about them? Well, they are kings too. I frowned. It crossed my mind too. I didn't know what the deal was with them. How come they didn't know about the standing agreement between the Romano and the King families? I was certain they didn't know. Otherwise, they would have hauled my ass out of here the second they saw me. I don't know, I told her honestly. They are Benito King's sons, but it's like they don't know anything about all this. We couldn't waste time wondering what their deal was. We should probably kill them too. Ella's face portrayed shock. What if they are innocent? And what if they aren't, Ella? I retorted. They seem close friends with your husband, she murmured. And those 5 men, including your husband, I don't think we are a match for them. I know, but what do we do if they decide to enforce the agreement? They are kings, Benito's family, after all. Jesus, we had dinner with them. I blinked at her justification. So we should let them kill us because we had dinner with them? Rolling her eyes, she smacked my arm playfully. That is not what I am saying, but maybe we should consider they might not be connected to their father. I mean, you grew up under your uncle and have no connection to him. Maybe they are similar. I released a heavy sigh. Fine, I'll give you this one. Can you hack into their communication and see what the deal is with them? I don't think we are a match for Cassio and Luca King anyhow. If their relationship with their father is similar to mine with my uncle, we'll let them live. Ella chuckled, her eyes twinkling. I swear, woman, you sound bloodthirsty, and we haven't even killed a single person yet. I don't really like the idea of killing anyone, but I really don't want to be sold to some criminal. I can tell, Ella muttered. You're still trying to get over your current one. I am totally over the current one. Right. What does that mean? Why don't you just admit you're not over him? I am. No, you're not. Maybe your husband is not over you either. Now you're just talking stupid. I spat back. He was never into me, so there is nothing for him to get over. Right, that's why he beat Ian like some madman in the middle of a nightclub. Why are we talking about him? We have this life and death situation over our heads, and we're debating whether Luciano is or isn't into me. When we're dead, do you really think in the grand scheme of things it will matter? You think we won't get out of this alive? We'll damn well try. I observed her fidgeting with her hands. She was acting funny. Gabriella, what the fuck is the matter? Well, I kind of want to get out of it alive. I like Massimo. Like, a lot. I frowned. It was the first time she said those words out loud. I know you don't like him. I don't like Luciano for what he did to you, but I'm willing to give him a chance. Can you do the same for Massimo? Pushing my hands through my hair, that was still a mess from my tumbling last night with my husband, I looked at her incredulously. Sure, Ella, you know I love you and I want you to be happy. However, I'm not asking you to give Luciano a chance. Both of those assholes pointed their guns at me. I watched emotions flicker over her face. Besides, thinking about Massimo while we have the King family hunting for us, along with the Romano family, isn't the right thing to do right now. She exhaled in resignation. I know, but I'm tired of running. And I just know it will be worse this time. It was hard watching you last time, and your pregnancy was what helped us both get through. It was the only thing that drove us. What will we have this time? I blinked hard, several times, the sting of tears burning my eyes. We can't bring Matteo along. It's too risky. Luciano will make sure he is safe. The heavy admission clenched my heart. From the moment Luciano found us, running without Matteo was what I dreaded the most. My husband had set things in motion by dragging us all back. You have everything ready, so he knows he is his. I nodded, unable to get the words out.
Chapter 19. Luciano. What the fuck happened here? Cassio's and Luca's grim expressions told me nothing good. This warehouse should be filled with their shipment of guns and drugs, yet it was empty. It almost felt like déjà vu from that day when my location was hit. But my wife didn't know about this shipment. This shipment was meant to fool Alfonso and Benito into thinking Raphael was on their side working with them, and it was all gone, not a single product in sight. There was no time to arrange for a new one, and there was never a plan to deliver a shipment of women. We are fucked. Goddamn father of mine, Cassio gritted, trying to maintain control. I offered to let him use my warehouse in Jersey, but he felt confident his father hadn't gotten wind of it. Fucking greedy asshole. Benito King ruled New York, but barely. The only reason he maintained his position was thanks to Cassio and Luca. But those two had enough. Now they worked for themselves. Their father fucked them over enough. I pulled out my phone and dialed Rafael Santos. Hey, buddy. Fuck, he chuckled over the phone. I'm almost there. I have a feeling you want something pronto. I chuckled back. Lucky for everyone, I was in a good mood after last night. Yes, my wife was gone when I woke up this morning, but her delicate smell was still all around me, even on my crisp, white button-down shirt and black three-piece suit. She must have brushed against it when she went into my closet, because I could smell her lingering perfume all around me. Benito King intercepted a shipment that was coming to the city. Do you have anyone that can run it down? But instead of bringing it back to the city, take it to Jersey, my favorite place. Sure thing. See you in 5. I'll have an update for you then. That was the reason I liked doing business with Raphael. No delay, no questions. He knew we didn't deal in flesh, so that was all that mattered to him. I met Cassio's thunderous gaze. It was still fuming about what his father did. Luca kept playing with his knife, throwing it up into the air and catching it. One of these days, that motherfucker would cut his finger off. I really liked him, but he had to stop playing with knives. Raphael might be able to seize it. Thanks, Luciano. Don't mention it. You'd do the same for me. Cassio has been my best friend for a long time, and I knew he would do the same for me. In fact, he had done the same for me multiple times. When I needed backing against the Romano family for killing my mother and sister, he and Luca were there with me. We stood in silence. I knew Cassio needed to simmer down his rage. We were similar in that aspect. When we lost our shit, we really lost our shit. Luca, despite his happy-go-lucky bastard attitude he had most of the time, had similar rage issues when he lost his shit. My rage started when my mother and sister were murdered. Cassio and Luca's much earlier on. Their sick bastard father was to blame. After a while, I broke the silence. It might be time to take the East Coast. His gaze snapped mine. He knew what I meant. His father shouldn't be the ruler of New York. There wasn't a single man that currently ruled the East Coast. Yes, his father wanted to, but he'd never succeed. Nico, Luca, Alessio, and I would never work with him. Same was true for Rafael Santos, who owned Florida, and Vasily, who ruled New Orleans. We have too much shit going on now, he muttered. We'll always have too much shit going on. Why are you in such a great mood? Luca drawled, a smile on his face. He finally stopped flipping his knife. I had to give it to him. He knew how to control his rage. Someone got lucky last night? I grinned. None of your fucking business. I would never discuss private details about my wife with any man, although I knew it was hard to hide that shit went down rather great last night. After I beat the crap out of Ian Laszlo. I'd back you up if you decide now is the time. Benito is a loose cannon. He has been from the moment he stepped into your grandfather's shoes. Your Sicilian roots, your mother's father backing, along with Nico, Alessio, Luca, Raphael, and I. Fuck, even Vasily Nikolaev would be on board to help. We could take the East Coast. I knew he wanted to. He has been working on it for years, moving the chess pieces slowly, undetected by his father. I could practically hear the wheels spinning in his head. Cassio hated unnecessary death. But the fact was, in this world, there would always be death. None of us were saints. It just happened that some of us were worse than others. And Benito King was the worst of us all. Men that willingly followed him were no better. Might be time, brother, Luca chimed in. He had no desire to rule the East Coast. Truthfully, neither did Cassio. But he refused to work for his father, because the thing was, his father didn't work with anyone. He insisted on everyone working for him. Never gonna happen. And it wasn't as if we could be completely out. Like they say, the only way out was death. Just think how many lives we could actually save, I justified. The entire coast would be ours. No human trafficking on our turf, from Alaska, Canada, all the way down to Florida, fuck even Louisiana with Vasily. His pensive eyes watched down the docks and over the horizon. He knew I was right. We could have a good thing going. Yes, gun and drug dealing were bad, but it wasn't forcing women and children into fucked up situations. Truthfully, I wanted out of this business. Money laundering, all of it. But with Cassio as the head of the East Coast, it would be a partnership, and we'd control it all. I knew from an early age what my father did. So did Cassio. My grandfather ran a similar operation alongside Cassio's and Luca's maternal grandfather in Sicily. It was a reason we were so close, the three of us. No need to answer now, I told him, hearing Raphael's car engine pull up. Think about it. I'm with you either way. Raphael strode in. I shook my head. That damn Colombian always looked like he just came off the runway or a magazine featuring the top CEOs. He wore a white three-piece suit, and against his tan skin and dark hair, it didn't look too shabby. It almost led you to believe he wasn't a threat. Almost. Hey, pretty boy. He flipped me the middle finger and I chuckled. Yes, maybe I was in a great mood today.
Well, this pretty boy has a surprise coming for you guys.
What's that? I teased. A Gucci suit?
My boys already located the stolen shipment. We killed all the men, but left one alive. My present to you.
I shook my head. Raphael was an important asset to keep. You are a fucking hunter. I knew you'd get them.
Fucking right.
I glanced at Cassio. What do you say, Cassio? Want to question our suspect? Yes. I think it's time we made some changes around here. Let's teach our suspect who owns the East Coast.
Fuck yeah,
Luca muttered. Raphael grinned. He wasn't part of our conversation, but he knew the end game. Benito King had to go. Is he coming with the shipment? Upon his nod, we all loaded into our vehicles. I sent Roberto to go check on the status of our runners that cleaned money through my casinos in Atlantic City. I had several guards at the house watching over the women, and Matteo along with my father. Massimo was with me, and he was currently outside. He had some shit to take care of with the technology he upgraded at the compound, along with every business I owned. Massimo is one of the rare men I trusted implicitly. If he changed anything about our security, I never questioned him. We all loaded into multiple cars. Cassio, Luca, Raphael, and I each had 3 men with us, along with 2 vehicles each. That way, if we were attacked, it was harder to get to us. We took the route of the Brooklyn Bridge. I remember the first date I took Grace on. I told her we would dine at a restaurant in the city. Her first request was whether we could take the Brooklyn Bridge route. It was her favorite way into the city. I was suspicious of her request and had taken 5 vehicles and extra men along with me. But the moment the car drove onto the bridge, she straightened up and stared out the window, the whole world forgotten. She loved to look over the river. A month into our wedding, I finally asked her what was so special about it. It was always the same view. Her smile as she turned those beautiful violet eyes to meet my gaze shone on her face.
My parents met on the bridge when they were kids.
She admitted.
Makes me remember.
I didn't ask her to elaborate, but I should have. Maybe I would have learned a thing or two about my wife. The bloodthirsty need to avenge my mother's and sister's deaths, and finding the attraction I felt for my wife, ate at me back then. I made a lot of mistakes when it came to her, and I intended not to repeat them. She'd give us a fresh start, a chance. She had to. I wouldn't take her refusal. It would be Matteo, my wife, and me. Another 10 minutes, and we pulled up to the port I owned in Jersey. This was good. No incidents, no trouble. I think we got it all. Raphael's brother-in-law, Sasha Nikolaev, spoke up. We got them while they were still on the boat, before they were able to dock. At least I was able to use my new sniper rifle. I left you one guy to play with. He smirked. His pale hair and pale blue eyes made him look very much like his oldest brother. Except Sasha's temper was more off the hook than Vasily's. Thanks, man. I pat him on the back. We owe you and Raphael."
Just put it on the top, pretty boy.
Raphael's voice taunted from the back. It was my turn to flip him the bird.
Okay, I'm out,
Sasha chimed in, flipping us both a middle finger.
I've got some personal business to attend to.
No doubt that meant there was a target on his list. Sasha and his half-brother Alexei Nikolaev were two of the best enforcers. We all strode into the warehouse. All Cassio's products were already offloaded and ready to go. "I have 2 more men heading this way, so we can move the product," Cassio explained. None of us held on to our product long, especially not in one place. When Benito King was after it, we moved it even faster. Regardless that this was a set-up shipment for Alfonso, we operated in the same capacity. Not to mention that Alfonso and Benito tried to fuck us over many times over the years. The man sat tied up to a chair, his wide eyes darting between us all. He was probably trying to decipher the weakest one of us to the strongest. He did not have much success. He got himself into a pile of shit, probably wishing he was dead right now. The 4 of us stood in front of him, all our suits impeccable.
Fuck, I really didn't dress for the occasion,
Raphael muttered.
I love this suit.
Dude, you look like you were a virgin, Luca joked.
Who wears a white suit? All the badasses.
Raphael reached under his blazer and pulled a gun out.
Can we just shoot him so I can keep my suit white? Or did you have something else in mind?
This was how we played with the fuckers. I shrugged. I was thinking maybe we start with pulling his teeth with a set of pliers. There's one set around here, I'm sure. I pretended to look around, as if I was seriously searching for the tool. I turned my head at Luca. Hey, you have a knife? Can you just start with an eyeball? A whimper had all of us directing our attention to our guest. What was that, fucker? I taunted. You'd like us to start with an eyeball? No. I yawned, pretending boredom. Gentlemen, we have to speed this up. I got a date later today.
Let's start with a finger,
Luca suggested, as he threw his knife up into the air and caught it easily. Massimo stepped behind the guy and held his hand out, gripping it tight. Better not get his shit on me, he warned, grinning devilishly. Massimo was just as fucking crazy as I was. My girl and I are having dinner at a fancy restaurant. Look at you 2 fuckers, Cassio groaned. Can you stop bragging about your love lives?
Someone definitely got lucky last night,
Luca chuckled, still flipping his knife into the air.
I got lucky last night too,
Raphael chimed in, grinning.
So it leaves only 2 unlucky bastards.
That's it, Luca growled in pretense. I'm getting lucky tonight. Well, let's get lucky and cut this guy's finger off, Cassio retorted.
Unless he wants to tell us who he works for and why he stole my shit.
I don't know who hired me. And here I thought we could finish today's business on a high note. I feigned distress. Cut it. He tried to resist, but it was futile. Massimo was stronger than him and held him still. Luca pressed his knife against his middle finger and cut it straight off while blood gushed all over. I guess he wouldn't be flipping anyone off. Not that he would get out of this alive. His screams echoed throughout the warehouse. You'd think we cut off his entire hand, not just a finger. Who do you work for? I asked again, seemingly bored to death. He pressed his lips together, his refusal to answer. I nodded at Luca. Cut the other middle finger too. Yes, I could be a sick and crazy fucking lunatic. Maybe we should just do the entire hand, Cassio suggested. He looked pensive, as if he seriously weighed the pros and cons to it. Yes, I like that better. Massimo grabbed his other hand and held it still.
You get your fucking blood on me?
I'll bring you back to life just so I can kill you again, he growled. I guess nobody wanted to get dirty today. King, Marco King. He pretty much screamed the name. Aw, man, your little brother. Cassio hated Marco as much as his father. Those two were made out of the same kind of evil. They raped and tortured women for pleasure, both of them heavy into human trafficking. He wanted the shipment, and the woman is next, the pathetic fucker cried out. I stopped dead in my tracks. What woman? I growled. I had a bad feeling that I knew who the woman was. I don't know, he whined. He's bragged she's a fucking descendant from some kind of royalty. All I know is that she was promised to him for a while. She's a natural redhead, and he's into redheads. It was Grace. I had no fucking doubt. The cold rage and fear snaked through me. Marco King wanted Grace. Kill him, I spat. Massimo stepped away. Then Cassio reached for his gun and fired one bullet. He slumped forward in the chair. 3 seconds of silence. Yes, it's time to take the East Coast, Cassio acknowledged. About fucking time, the rest of us muttered in unison.
Chapter 20. Grace. I sat on the property's private beach. Ella was back at the house, trying hard to find out information about the unknown cousin I had. I didn't hold out much hope that piece of information would help us, though it remained to be seen. I watched Nonno and Matteo play in the sand. Grandpa sat in a beach chair, while Matteo shoveled sand from left to right and then right back. Such a simple act, but it filled my heart with longing. I remembered spending time with my parents at our beach home in Connecticut. They always made time for me, helping me build castles in the sand. All I wanted was to keep Matteo safe, to see him grow up to become a man. Now, I wasn't so sure if I'd succeed. As messed up as everything was, and after everything Luciano had done to me, I still had no doubt he and Nonno would keep Matteo safe. But I really wanted to be part of my son's life. I just didn't see any other alternative. There were only 2 options: run or be killed. Living on the run wouldn't be a good life to offer anyone, much less a child. And I really didn't want to get killed. Despite my conversation with Ella earlier today, the chances of us succeeding in killing my family, along with Benito King and his descendants, were slim. We weren't criminal masterminds, and we certainly weren't killers. The yearly fundraiser my grandmother held would be our chance to get closer to my uncle and grandmother, but the problem was, I didn't know how to go about killing them at such a public event. Or maybe that would be where we set the trap. Both my grandmother and uncle had guards protecting them, but if I could somehow get them alone, I'd have a chance to get rid of them. I had to find a way. I worried about the threats to Matteo's life, now that they knew about my son. I looked back to Matteo and his grandfather building a tower. Well, Nonno was building it. Matteo was probably just digging a hole. A tower.
Come here, Grace.
My father's voice traveled across the sand dunes, his voice carrying on the wind, along with the sounds of waves washing across the shoreline. Coming! I ran towards my parents, my feet feeling heavy as each of my bare feet hit the sand. I loved the feeling of sand on my toes, but running in it was too hard for my little body. Occasionally, I'd trip and fall into the sand. At least the sand cushioned the fall. When I finally reached them, I threw myself into my mother's arms. She was beautiful. Her soft smile and voice always made everything better. Lifting me up into her arms, my dad leaned over and placed a gentle kiss onto my forehead.
I have a story to tell you, my little Grace.
I'm not little anymore, I objected on a pout. I turned 5 yesterday. "And you are such a big girl," my mother cooed. "But you will always be our little girl. Always our baby." I didn't like their explanation back then. I didn't want to be a baby anymore. It was only after I had Mateo that I understood those words. God, how I missed them. They were torn from me, and the moment I lost them, I had been thrown into the Romano's greedy clutches. Yes, we shared the last name, but my uncle and grandmother were nothing like my father and mother. They were nothing like Grandma and Grandpa Astor.
Look, Grace.
My father's voice had me follow his finger pointing to our beach house. I eagerly stared, but couldn't grasp what he was pointing at.
Our beach house used to be a tower many, many years ago. Your great-great-grandfather, Astor, bought the tower and built a house around it.
I stared wide-eyed at the house. "Where is the tower now?"
Remember where you and Mommy always sit to watch the boats come in?
I nodded, eagerly.
That used to be the highest part of that tower.
That used to be my favorite part when I was your age, too. My mother chimed in a soft voice. "Did Grandma read you stories there?" I asked eagerly. "Just like you read me stories?" My mother's soft chuckle filled my ears. "She did. And guess what?" "What?" I whispered, eager to know everything. "Sometimes we would sneak out of there through the secret passage. We'd go to the beach and watch the sunset, and Grandpa never even knew." I giggled. "You fooled him." "Yes, we did. The secret passage is a good hiding spot and lets you sneak out without anyone ever knowing. It's our family secret." I stared at my parents wide-eyed, eager to know how to find the secret passage. "Want me to show you?" I nodded eagerly and insisted on seeing it right away. It became my favorite part of the house. Family secret. That was my mom's family's only secret. Too bad they never had a chance to warn me about the many family secrets on my dad's side. Mateo's laugh pulled me out of the memory, and I watched the scene in front of me with a smile. He was happy, loved it here. I wasn't sure how it would work out, but there was no chance I wouldn't try to eliminate the threatening shadows lurking over him. I might not have a daughter, but Mateo might have one in the future. This wasn't only about saving my son or myself. It was for his children and grandchildren too. Okay, step 1. Eliminate Uncle and dear old Grandma. Step 2. Eliminate Benito and Marco King. Possibly Cassio and his brother too. It was what would probably end me. I was no match for any member of the King family. Contingency step 2. If eliminating the King family turned out to be unsuccessful, Ella and I run. Alone. Alone. Even that word by itself hurt. Neither Ella nor I wanted to be alone. We wanted a semblance of normalcy. It had been so long since we had it, and more than anything else, I wanted to raise my son. Just thinking about a life without him made my lungs burn with each breath I took. If I could find a way to make that damn agreement null and void, maybe I'd come out of it alive. Both Ella and I. There was no way that something like that was legal. I had to scoff to myself, though. It wasn't as if men in this world did much by the book. I mean, just look at me and my husband. He kidnapped me, married me, made me fall in love with him, and then pulled the trigger. Who would have ever thought that one shared moment of locked gazes across the dark nightclub would get us here? Gabriella and I stood at the bar of the nightclub. We had just graduated, both of us alone. No parents, no family to witness, just the two of us. But the point was, we graduated. We had each other. The bar was crowded, and neither one of us was good at pushing our way through, so we waited patiently until it was our turn to order. "I hope it's worth the wait," I yelled to Ella, rolling my eyes. My eyes scanned the room. We haven't even gotten our first drink, and there were women already stumbling all around. This club was one of the newer ones and completely redone. It has become one of the hit clubs to visit and be seen at. Neither Ella nor I cared about being seen, so we hadn't been here yet. The black crystal chandelier hung over the extravagant bar, accenting the red marble countertop as well as the booths surrounding the space. Someone bumped into me and I almost lost my balance, my whole body shooting forward when a pair of man's hands wrapped around my waist to steady me. Shit! I hated crowds and drunk people that acted like jerks.
You all right?
A man's deep voice against my ear had me turning my face towards it, and that was when I saw him. The beautiful hazel eyes shattered me the moment our eyes locked, and then he slowly started putting me back together, only to shatter me again 3 months later. "Yes, I'm fine. Thank you." My heart pounded under my ribcage. I swore he must be able to feel it because it was exactly where his hands were. Against his jet black hair, his eyes were more prominent, more green than hazel. The 5 o'clock shadow on his sharp cheekbones and those beautiful full lips made me want to trace his face with my fingers. Everything about the man I met that night, my future husband, made my muscles tense and go rigid. I wasn't sure if it was a warning of self-preservation that I ignored, or awareness. Did my body recognize the man that would bring me the ultimate pleasure? Or demise? One kiss, one night. It was a hard and fast falling. Yes, I bickered with him and fought him once I found out he was using me for his revenge. But at the same time, I craved him. The taste of the passion he gave me that first night, I wanted it every night. Luciano was my ultimate vice, probably my ultimate destruction. Whatever drove him the last time to kidnap me and force me into marriage, it must still be there.
Grace, what are you thinking about?
Nonno's voice startled me. I was so deep in thought I didn't even notice him approaching me. I met his gaze, full of concern and softness. I wondered why Luciano's father never mentioned he knew my parents, or that he was meant to be my guardian. How did they know each other? And why didn't Luciano know? He and his father kept no secrets between the two. My eyes sought out Matteo. He was still in the same spot, slowly taking down the tower, just as I intended to do. "Can I ask you something?" I turned my gaze back to Nonno. He had never given me a reason not to trust him. Unlike Luciano, his father had consistently been kind and welcoming. Even more importantly, he had been honest.
Of course.
He must have expected a long discussion because he sat himself next to me. "How did you know my parents?"
You too, huh?
"What do you mean?"
Luciano asked the same question.
"Oh."
Your father and I had a common goal. It was to stop Alfonso Romano and your grandmother from human trafficking. But then we became friends. My wife and your mother got along well, and obviously your father and I.
My father and Luciano's father were friends. He must have trusted Nonno explicitly if he designated him as my guardian, more than his own family. Two such vastly different backgrounds, yet they were friends. Luciano and I had different backgrounds too. Except Nonno didn't point a gun at my father's head. Luciano did, however, point it at mine.
Your father was a good man, Gracie.
I knew he was. Both my parents were great people. I know. I murmured low, my eyes locked on my son. I just wish They didn't leave me so clueless, you know? In a blink, both my parents were dead, and I knew nothing of what awaited me. I went into it blind, trusting, and came out burned. By my uncle, grandmother, and finally Luciano. They all used me.
He wanted to protect you.
He should have made me stronger. My voice cracked. I walked into all of it, blind, and... I couldn't finish the sentence. The memory of those dark days when I had to endure my uncle and grandmother screamed in my mind. I pushed those memories out of my mind. I couldn't go there now.
Your parents loved you.
Nonno's voice was soft. I know. I turned to lock eyes with him. Did you know Mom and Dad made you my guardian? He nodded.
I did. And I went after him when he took you. It was your parents' wish to keep you away from them. I wanted to honor it more than anything, but I lost.
Somehow, it felt like Nonno lost a lot because of it. Was it really an accident? I knew the official story. I've read the newspaper, but I suspected there was more to it.
No, Gracie.
Nonno sounded tired.
It wasn't an accident. He went against your uncle and his mother. I helped your father. I didn't want women trafficked in my territory, or anywhere for that matter. We fought them together. Your uncle retaliated with the help of Benito King. It ended up costing us a lot. You, me, and many others.
I was scared to ask, but I needed to know. No. What did it cost you? I whispered. I had a feeling it would be a revelation that might change our dynamics forever.
It cost me my wife and daughter.
A gasp escaped me. My hand reached out and took his big, wrinkled hand into mine. Luciano lost his mother and sister to my family. No wonder he hated my guts when we first met. No wonder he kidnapped me to use me as leverage. How did they die? On one hand, I didn't want to know, but it was time I learned.
My wife and I took our daughter out for a birthday dinner.
He explained, sadness evident in his voice.
Luciano got held up with his casino business. I thank God each day he wasn't there. When we left the restaurant, we were cornered. My men assigned to protect us were already dead. I didn't have my gun on me. Lucia, my daughter, didn't like guns or violence. Alfonso's men shot my wife and daughter in front of my eyes, and there was nothing I could do. I fought them, but 1 man against 10 wasn't a match. Your uncle watched it all from his car, the window rolled down, smoking a cigar and drinking a beer.
I took his hand into mine and squeezed it. I couldn't even imagine the pain he felt. You never get over something like that. It was impossible to get over something like that. His tone of voice was heart-wrenching. To have witnessed your daughter and wife murdered in cold blood like that was unfathomable. I'm so sorry, Nonno.
You have lost your parents. We all have lost something.
He kept my hand over his. He was right. We all lost a lot. He killed Ella's parents, too. I muttered the admission. Her father refused to work with him when he realized Alfonso was using him to smuggle women, so he killed them both.
I know,
he replied.
Her father was a crooked politician, but he had limits. Sometimes I worked with him, but after losing my wife and daughter, I wanted nothing to do with the business. Luciano took over and he built his own way of doing business, only with people he explicitly trusted. And all the while we went after your uncle and grandmother to make them pay. But he didn't know I started it all when I refused to let Alfonso into my territory, working with your father. What tipped your uncle into pure violence was that I refused to give you up.
You should have. I rasped, the tears stuck in my throat. It cost you so much.
And it cost you a lot too.
He replied.
You suffered under Sofia and Alfonso Romano. Your parents wanted you to be safe and protected.
Swallowing hard, I couldn't help but feel guilty at Nonno's loss, my parents' loss. All because the King family wanted a fucking Romano belle for their auction. I miss Mom and Dad. I choked the words out. It never goes away, does it? Nonno's other hand cupped my one cheek.
No, it doesn't. But we have Matteo now. We have a future in front of us. You, Luciano, Matteo.
I swallowed hard. And you too, I rasped. He chuckled softly.
I'm an old man. I will be joining my wife and daughter sooner than you and your husband, and definitely sooner than our little Matteo.
I glanced at my son, his concentration on the sand. He had a big grin on his face, and the breeze shifted his curls onto his forehead. I would make sure my son had a chance to grow up without the threat of the Romano family. My uncle and grandmother had to die. Anyone that threatened my son's life would be eliminated. I hope you stay around for a long time, I told him, to see Matteo grow up. Because I wasn't so sure that I'd live that long. The sound of seagulls above us and waves rolling off the shore mixed with Matteo's enthusiastic babble, while Nonno and I both sat lost in our own memories and regrets. At least I had those. Wishing Nonno hadn't tried to do the right thing so his wife and daughter would still be here among the living.
What are you thinking, daughter?
He questioned me.
With such sorrow on your face.
It kills me that my family hurt your daughter and wife just because you helped my dad. I rasped, finding it hard to look at him. Guilt slowly spread through my chest that he lost 2 important people in his life because of my fucked up, cruel family.
No, Gracie. There were more reasons.
He turned his gaze towards the horizon, a beautiful view lost to the bloody memories.
Luciano grew our territory and our fortune fast. It made Benito King and Alfonso Romano jealous. Your uncle wanted to use New Jersey and Connecticut along with New York to move flesh. Luciano intercepted all their shipments and freed women. I told Benito and Alfonso we would never allow it to happen. So, for a long time, they searched for a way to eliminate the Vitale family. It started with killing your parents, continued by intercepting my guardianship of you, and ended with the death of my own wife and daughter.
So many lives lost, just for the greed of 2 men. We should kill them, I muttered under my breath. Nonno's sad chuckle startled me.
Oh, my little Gracie. This world has hardened you.
He had no idea. Nonno's words played in my mind on repeat. So many deaths and suffering caused by the greed and cruelty of my uncle and grandmother. Yes, I had never killed anyone, but those 2 surely deserved to die. I never thought I'd consider killing a human being, but those 2, I wanted to kill. The need to see them suffer and get what they deserve choked me. I guess this was what they call thirst for revenge. They killed my parents, they killed Luciano's mother and sister, they killed Gabriella's parents. How many more lives did they take? How many women suffered a cruel fate because of them? All that blood was on their hands. And without a doubt, I knew they'd try to use my son if it worked in their favor. Uncle and grandmother had to be eliminated. I felt tired, drained, maybe even a tad bit cranky. Past and bitterness would do that to you. Though activities from last night when I ended up in my husband's bed probably contributed to that. I couldn't even say I regretted it. I was more than a willing participant. But after learning that my uncle killed Luciano's mother and sister, I finally saw what should have been evident the moment we met. We were never meant to be. It took less than half of a week for my entire world to become a big, tangled mess. The threat of my uncle loomed over my head. The Bell agreement of my family with the Kings was a noose around my neck, and I had no solid plan. Yes, kill evil old uncle and grandma, but the question was, how? And then, how would I ensure I didn't end up in prison? I mean, these people killed all the time, and they got away with it. Mobsters must take some lessons somewhere along the way on how to get away with crimes. Huh, I need that damn book. Get Away with Crime for Dummies. I scoffed in my head. It didn't take a genius to see that even if Ella and I got lucky and succeeded in killing my uncle and grandmother, the chances of us killing Benito King were slim to none. He had soldiers and mercenaries guarding him and Marco King. And then, on top of all of it, we still might have to run, because we'd be criminals. Fugitives. At least I'll have a job with the ruthless king. Yes, it was all about priorities. If only I could think of a trap, a safe trap for Ella and I, so we could kill them all. Because just like Ella, I'd like to live a bit longer. I'd love to see my son grow up. And damn it, if I could enjoy my husband's bed for a bit longer, that would be a nice plus. Even if he agitated me most of the time. Like now. Luciano got it in his ass that we should have a formal family dinner. We were in the dining room that could easily seat 100 people. It was just the 9 of us. Ella sat next to Massimo, Matteo between Luciano and I, his father on my right, Cassio next to Nonno, Luca, Alessio, and Nico split between my side and Nonno's side. It couldn't be my luck for Luciano to just take his friends and Massimo to have dinner out, but no, it almost felt like he was including Ella and I in his small circle. I just wanted to eat dinner with Matteo and Ella in peace without watching out for any possible landmines in our conversation. Like in Italy, before our whole life got uprooted.
Grace, I hear you studied music.
Cassio started small talk. Yep.
Do you sing or play an instrument?
Nico asked curiously. Ella and I shared a glance. We were both on the edge and tense, waiting for some bomb to drop. She was irritated that finding out information on Uncle's offspring proved to be elusive, and was scared that at any second we'd be dragged into the auction, sold to a cruel mobster. More and more I thought about it. I was certain that killing my uncle and grandmother, then living on the run, might be our only viable option. Piano, I retorted curtly, aware that my one-word responses made this situation worse. I just wasn't in the mood for chit-chatting and pretending everything was great, while Ella's and my lives hung by a thread.
Where did you study music?
Nico Morelli asked. He eyed me curiously. I learned he was the mobster that controlled Maryland and Washington, D.C. In fact, among all the men at this table, they controlled almost all of the East Coast. I heard them reference Rafael Santos, and I knew from overhearing my uncle's conversation that the Santos family controls Florida. If Rafael Santos was Luciano's friend, then that must mean that my uncle lost his Florida connection too. Juilliard, I told him briefly. I had a feeling they all knew everything about me and Ella, so not sure why they bothered making conversation.
Well, you are a chatty Cathy.
Luca chimed in. If you want to talk, I spat back sarcastically, be my guest and talk away.
How come you two parked yourself in Sicily?
Cassio asked, ignoring my sarcasm.
Especially knowing that Luciano's ancestors and my ancestors came from Sicily.
Matteo shoved the spoonful of spinach that I attempted to feed him out of his face. But first of all, how in the hell would I know where your mother's ancestors are from? Second of all, haven't you ever heard of the term hide in plain sight? And I never told you where we parked ourselves, which tells me you already know it all, so I'm not sure why we are bothering with questions. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. Okay, so maybe I was the landmine, ready to explode at any second.
How would you know my mother's family is from Sicily?
Cassio questioned. That man was sharp. The King family is from the Welsh area in England. I answered him as Matteo kept pushing the spoon away. Therefore, I assumed you must be talking about your mother's family.
It was good you went there, Gracie.
Nonno interrupted, giving me a comforting smile.
Where was our Matteo born?
I knew Nonno hoped he was born in his hometown, or the one of his wife. The way he took to Matteo made me painstakingly aware that my son was missing. Nonno and Luciano were his family, just as Ella and I were Matteo's family. In Italy, not in Sicily. I kept my answer short and returned my attention to my son. Come on, Matteo, I begged in a strenuous voice. Just a bite?
No,
He objected, turning his face away from me. I felt on the edge of my seat, waiting for another bomb to drop. This felt like living in a mental battle zone for me. I had to keep my guard up at all times. Yes, at night I tumbled between the sheets, but that only impacted my heart and body. This was so much more. What have you fed him? I asked Nonno, cranky.
We just had gelato for a snack when we came back from the beach, but that was hours ago.
How many hours ago? I gritted, my nerves like a rubber band, ready to snap. We were happy in our little town on an island in Italy. Our whole life got interrupted in a matter of a week. At this point, Matteo basically demanded only gelato for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And now I was having dinner surrounded by ruthless mobsters.
Maybe an hour ago.
He replied, a guilty expression on his face. I dropped the silverware with a clunk, everyone's eyes snapping to me. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath in, then exhaled. I reached for any ounce of patience I could muster. It was nowhere to be found.
I'm sorry, Gracie.
Nonno must have sensed that I was teetering on the edge. Him calling me Gracie didn't help at all. It reminded me even more how happy we were in Italy, and now we were here facing danger at every corner. I had no solutions, and I was tempted to beg someone, anyone, to help us. But the people at this table were the reason we were in this predicament. Well, except Nonno. I swallowed hard, reining in all the control left within me. Don't lose your shit. Don't lose your shit. Let's go take a bath and then bedtime, I told my son, placing the napkin onto the table, and got up. I'd changed into white jeans and an emerald green t-shirt for dinner. I refused to go all out for these men. But both Ella and I agreed we shouldn't show up to dinner wearing yoga pants, although it was awfully tempting. I kicked off my high heels, ready to pull Matteo out of his high chair. No sense in strutting around the house in high heels. I wasn't a trophy wife.
Here, let me try.
Luciano offered. Before I could object, he picked up Matteo's fork and continued.
Okay, Matteo. I know veggies are kind of gross, but let's dip them into the sauce and make them taste better.
He doesn't like to mix his food. I told him, but just as the words left my mouth, my jaw just about dropped. I watched in amazement as Matteo accepted a fork full of green beans dipped into sauce and chewed. I waited, holding my breath. He would spit it all out any second. Any moment now. My son swallowed it and then grinned at Luciano.
Pio!
He demanded. I shook my head in disbelief. Little traitor, Ella called out softly. Everyone around the table chuckled, and I shook my head. Completely unexpected evening. I caught Nonno's look, watching his son and grandson. Deep inside, I knew without a doubt that Nonno knew Matteo was a Vitale. He knew he was looking at his grandson. Decidedly pushing that suspicion away, I glanced at Ella. It didn't escape me that Luciano's friends observed Ella and I for any and all movements, like they were studying us. I sat back down, Taking the glass of wine off the table, I took a sip. Whatever, as long as he eats. I leaned back into my seat and watched in amazement. Yep, you can feed him for the rest of dinner. I'm taking a break. Luciano's and Matteo's eyes raised to me, the identical mischief in them, and my heartbeat got stuck in my throat. Father and son. Luciano actually winked at me.
We'll show her how good we eat, won't we, Matteo?
Luciano murmured softly to his son, and suddenly my heart twisted in agony. He would be a good father, just not a good husband, because he hated the Romano family. I couldn't even blame him.
Then you'll grow big and strong, see?
Matteo grinned and nodded eagerly. I blinked hard. Shit. Not a good time to get teary-eyed. I was scared to even think what Luciano would do if he knew Matteo was his son. He'll find out soon either way. I had to settle my nerves. Taking another sip of my wine, my eyes traveled to my best friend. The expression on her face was one of disbelief, too. I guess you were wrong, Grace, Ella announced. Luciano is good for one thing, feeding toddlers their veggies. I felt a heat rush to my cheeks. I glared at her. Why would she say something like that? The table chuckled, but it didn't escape me that Luciano's eyes were on me, although I tried to avoid his gaze.
I could remind you of a few more things I am good at,
He offered. No thanks, I answered quickly. I'd have to talk to Ella about traitors. What was she trying to accomplish with that comment? The rest of dinner was quite uneventful. Luciano and his friends talked about their casino businesses, nightclubs, and stuck to neutral subjects. Ella and I mainly observed rather than commented. Not that we shared much of anything with these men. Well, except for laundering money and trying to kill a few individuals, but those were forced circumstances for the two of us. Before dessert, Luca got a text and left soon after. Nico and Alessio followed shortly after. I kept waiting for Cassio to clear out, but he remained behind. He made me nervous. He tried hard to appear non-threatening, and that made him even more dangerous. I knew Ella felt the same. We felt like we were in the middle of a viper's nest among all these mobsters. How many of these men participated in the Bells and Mobsters arrangements? I caught Ella shifting uncomfortably again, and my eyes trailed back to her. We